Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good evening, everyone, to the Fitchburg Common Council meeting for May 13, 2025. The first thing is to call to the order to the meeting at 6:31 p.m. Please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Radafrada.
Here.
Alder Dancer Jr. is
Online? He's up there.
present.
Oh, online. Okay.
Alder,
I'm here.
Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Jetzer.
Here.
Alder Lattice.
Here.
Alder Maldonado.
Yeah.
Alder Ragsted.
Here.
And Alder Bafadari is absent with excuse.
Okay, thank
You
you.
have a quorum. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So next we move to item 4, is public appearances for non-agenda items and new appointments. And we have a couple of mayoral proclamations. So we will start with the first one, is recognizing Frontline Workers Appreciation Month. Mike.
Okay, recognizing Frontline Workers Appreciation Month. Whereas frontline workers are the backbone of our community, exercising curiosity, compassion, courage, and creativity as they deliver essential services that safeguard the safety, health, and well-being of our residents. And
whereas over 9 million healthcare workers across the United States serve in hospitals, clinics, and long-term care facilities, often putting themselves in harm's way to provide life-saving care. And
whereas firefighters respond to an estimated 36 million emergency calls each year, over 800,000 sworn law enforcement officers nationwide work tirelessly to uphold the law and ensure public safety, and emergency medical services EMS personnel respond to more than 240 million calls annually. And
whereas members of the Fitchburg EMS, along with the Fitchburg Fire and Police Departments, and the dedicated staff of Fitchburg's Public Works stand ever ready to serve, protect, and care for the residents of Fitchburg. And
whereas in 2024, the Fitchburg Fire Department responded to 2,875 calls. Fitch-Rona EMS answered 5,184 calls, and Fitchburg Police Department responded to 26,299 calls for service. And
whereas the city's Public Works Department employees work tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure the safety, functionality, and cleanliness of our community, maintaining essential services such as roadways, infrastructure, and parks, all while upholding the highest standards of service and commitment to residents of Fitchburg. And
whereas public safety telecommunicators are the unsung heroes who answer calls for law enforcement, fire, and EMS services, swiftly dispatching responders and maintaining a vital link between citizens and emergency services. And
whereas teachers dedicate their careers to shaping the future of our communities, with over 3.7 million educators in the U.S. providing knowledge and guidance to our youth. And
whereas frontline workers embody the essence of builders, flexible thinkers, and constructive problem solvers who respect the dignity of all people by dedicating themselves to overcoming challenges and uniting communities.
So now, therefore, I, Julia Arata Frata, Mayor of the City of Fitchburg, along with the members of the Common Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May as a Frontline Worker Appreciation Month in the City of Fitchburg, Wisconsin, and encourage all residents to join in recognizing and honoring the heroic contribution of our healthcare workers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, EMS personnel, public safety telecommunicators, public works personnel, and teachers. This is proclaimed this May of May of 13 of 2025. So okay, so we have a lot of people here. Thank you guys for coming. So we're going to take a picture, and I appreciate what you do for the city of Fitchburg. I think the council and myself, we want to say thank you for all your hard work and protect our city. And thank you for being here tonight. Okay, so let's have a picture.
Is there room? Is there room? A room for everyone? Make sure they got it. Oh, we just let the mayor up there with them. Yeah. Oh, seriously. There's not hardly room for everyone to get in the picture. Just let the mayor be in the middle. Everybody together. I don't think there's room for us there.
Oh, you're coming.
What were they tell us?
I think you're going to photo bomb it here.
All right, let's move on. Okay, you guys in the back? Go to the middle.
What about the council?
They're all over the side. You're the most important one.
Gabrielle, stand on the chair.
What about city administrators? Shouldn't city administrators be in it too?
Chief Patrick, scoot that way just a tiny bit. Yep. Oh, right there. Can everybody see me?
Yes.
That's important. All right, we got it. Because if I can't see you, you can't see me, and la, 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 la. Everybody ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
Thank you.
Bill, I had to replace my cassette on the back of my rear wheel. It was worn out. Was your chains okay? No, I had to replace the chain too, both of them.
Okay, we have a second proclamation is recognizing May 2025 as National Bike Month, May 16, 2025 as a National Bike to Work Day, and June 1st to the 8th as Wisconsin Bike Week. So, okay.
Whereas the bicycle is an economical, healthy, convenient, and environmentally sound form of transportation and an excellent tool for recreation and enjoyment of Fitchburg's scenic beauty. And
whereas Fitchburg was recognized by the League of American Bicyclists as a silver bicycle-friendly community in 2015, 2019, and 2023, and a bronze bicycle-friendly community in 2012, and Fitchburg ranks first in Wisconsin and 6th in the nation in bicycle-friendly businesses per community recognized by the League of American Bicyclists. And
whereas in 1956, the League of American Bicyclists established May as National Bike Month and has designated May 16, 2025 as National Bike to Work Day, and the Wisconsin Bike Fed has declared June 1 to 8 as the Wisconsin Bike Week in 2025. And
whereas, including the unique Velo Underround, the confluence of 5 state and regional trails, And its new B-Cycle bike share system attracts bicyclists from a multi-state region each year, providing economic, health, transportation, tourism, and scenic benefits. And
whereas creating a bicycle-friendly community improves residents' health, well-being, and quality of life, grows the economy of Fitchburg, attracting tourists, improves traffic safety, supports student learning outcomes, and reduces pollution, congestion, and wear and tear on our streets and roads. And
whereas the Fitchburg Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission and the city's consultants are now preparing an update to the city's 2017 Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. And
whereas Bike Fitchburg, the Fitchburg Chamber Visitors and Business Bureau, the Wisconsin Bike Fed, the Bike League, and many other organizations will be promoting bicycling during May and June 1st through 8th, 2025, and year-round to attract more visitors to enjoy our local restaurants, hotels, retailers, and cultural and scenic attractions. And
whereas these groups are also promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and providing safety education to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities, and improve health and safety for everyone on the road. And
whereas the theme of Wisconsin Bike Week in 2025 is Educate, Engage, Encourage, and Bike Fitchburg and Fitchburg Recreation will offer 4-day-long smart cycling classes beginning in May.
Now, therefore, I, Julia Rata Frata, Mayor of the City of Fitchburg, along with members of the Common Council, do hereby proclaim May as a Bike Month, May 16 as a Bike to Work Day, and June 1st to the 8th as Wisconsin Bike Week in 2025 in Fitchburg, and urge all residents to begin or continue a bike riding habit and support bicycling in Fitchburg and throughout our region for all its economics, safety, transportation, and health benefit. This is proclaimed today, May 13, 2025. Okay, so let's. Yeah. Okay, let's go for a picture. Should we go get a bike?
Quick one. Yes, I want to make sure. So the events are coming fast and furious this Bike Month and into Bike Week. And so I would urge everyone who's interested in joining us to look at the MadisonBikes.org online calendar or the WisconsinBikeFed.org online calendar. In Fitchburg, we're going to be Friday morning Friday is International Bike to Work Day, and Friday morning, the mayor will ride to work at City Hall, even though she probably will end up at Wagner. And so that'll be at 7 a.m. down at McKee Farms Park by the main shelter and the B-Cycle station. So we hope you will join us for the short 1-mile ride up to City Hall. I think that there will be some local businesses joining us, and their people will ride on to work at their workplaces. And then when we get to City Hall, about 7:30, we will be honoring the 5 bicycle-friendly businesses that received awards in February and the 3 new ones that received awards last week, a total of 8. And we're changing our story. We're not first in Wisconsin. We're first in the Midwest now. So thank you very much, Mayor, for your support, and we appreciate the proclamation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we move to 4B is mayor appointment. So the first one is reappointment of Mark Hamilton for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. His term will expire April 18, 2028.
I move approval.
Second.
Any comments or questions? We know about Mark? Nope. All those in favor of his reappointment to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. The motion carries. I had to remember. So the next one is a new appointment. It's for the Healthy Neighborhood Advisory Committee. It's for Chibur Oka. His term will expire on April 18, 2028. So he's also representing the, one of the neighborhood Jamestown area. So Chibur, can you come to the microphone, please, and introduce yourself and who you are and why you want to serve in this committee? Yeah.
All right. The mayor, the others, committee chairman present, any other members of the council present. Good evening, all. My name is Chibuzo Oka. I live in District 1, Ward 1, and the city of Fitchburg. It's been a lovely city. We've been here for at least a year and a half, with my family of 3 boys and a wife. I work as a pharmaceutical production scientist with Millipore Sigma, and we make highly potent active pharmaceutical ingredients for cancer patients. So I lead within our site. We have a site in Madison and Verona Research Park. I lead the diversity and inclusion group for people of color. And over the years of my service, my time after college, 2012, I have found it a passion of mine to serve in a public capacity. I've been able to serve in a board assisted program, World Bank assisted program. I've been able to serve for non-profit organizations. I've served on the advisory council. I've served in districts, Madison School District Council, one of them. I've also been on youth associations like youth groups. I've served on their council. I've over the years, give or take 12, 13 years of my life, been privileged to serve in various councils, and I've made it a point of duty to improve on wherever I've been assigned to work in. I made it a point of duty to add my knowledge, innovation skill to whatever I'm being tasked to do. I read more about Fitchburg, and I understand we are a very diverse community, and also one of the fastest cities that is growing, the fastest growing cities in Wisconsin. And I also understand that the council has made it a point of duty to push for sustainability, be it in energy, be it in resources. I've also read about the council's ability, the council's drive to make more things about running the council and government more efficient. I was learning about recognitions being thrown about on public service holders and people that serve the city, which is very good. I encourage it, and I want to add to it. By joining the Healthy Neighborhoods Advisory Council, I will only add to what you guys have already achieved, and I will bring my young and youthful expertise to that. I also carry upon a badge that I live in this city. I know that every decision I will make in this council as a junior member, I'm going to be impactful on myself, on my family, and people around me. So if given the opportunity, as I've already been privileged by the mayor to be here to speak to you people, I will not disappoint. I'll be a team player, and I'll serve to the best of my knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yeah.
Where do you live in District 1?
Williamsburg Way Court is one of the courts in Williamsburg,
Williamsburg
around
Way
Lakewater.
Court.
Yes.
Okay, I know where you live.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question, comments?
I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of appointing Chivur Oka to the Healthy Neighborhood Advisory Committee, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, welcome and thank you for serving.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, so next we have a non-agenda item. Oh, for the non-agenda item we have Dave Haight. He wishes to speak. So Dave, can you come to the microphone? Thank you.
I'm David Haight, 5855 Woods Edge Road. From looking at my email, I think this is the anniversary beginning my 7th year coming here and speaking to bodies of the city. So what I want to talk about tonight is the fundamental principle of separation of powers. And so what I'm going to read is a little archaic language, but you'll get the gist. When the legislative and executive powers are united in the same person, there can be no liberty, because lest the monarch should enact tyrannical laws and to execute them in a tyrannical manner. There would be an end to everything were the same person or the same body, whether the nobles or the people, to exercise those three powers that of enacting laws, executing the public resolutions, and trying the causes of individuals. And so where's this coming from? So let's take, for example, the wheel tax. So how did it get on the agenda? The record seems to indicate that the mayor put it on the agenda. No vote of the council put it on the council's agenda. The council is a legislative body. The council is accountable for, under the separation of powers, its core function, which is legislating. A core aspect of the core function of legislating is the making and the adoption of agendas. I've gone back now, I've put all the agendas in the database, I've queried them, I can find no record of the council as a whole adopting an agenda or as a whole putting an item on the agenda or removing the agenda. It's moved things around, but it hasn't done anything substantive. So what's the problem here? So first of all, your forebear, the people who came before you, enacted a ordinance that says the mayor and the city administrator make the agenda. It's completely unconstitutional under the Wisconsin Constitution that no legislative body, this is true of every legislature in America, can delegate its core functions outside of itself. Now, you're not responsible for that. But that means that you react to everything. Instead of legislating, which is taking in information, deliberating as a body, having potentially hearings, allowing it to percolate in the community, providing an opportunity for you to choose, given all the information that can come in from staff members, from outside experts, from citizenry, and then you deciding whether or not it should go on your agenda, and then you, as a body, conducting the hearings here and allowing the public to exercise their function, which is to provide you with feedback, that doesn't happen at all. Stuff shows up just like the wheel tax on the agenda, and you vote on it. And what's the problem with that? Well, it's not a tax, it's a fee for service. But you all acknowledge in your language that it's a tax because it's going to displace tax dollars and take the function of it. What service is being provided? Who's going to, what utility commission is going to
Your time
do
is
this?
up. Thank you. Okay, so next I will open the public hearing for Ordinance 2025-0-02, adopting and recommending the Spring 2025 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3, Future Land Use Plan Map for property located off Nesbitt Road from business to high-density residential. So do we have anyone in the chamber that wishes to speak on this public hearing? Okay, you can come. You will need to fill up another form, okay, later, okay.
All right, this is the comprehensive plan amendment?
Oh, but this one is 8A1.
AA1, yeah.
Oh, that one is for that, okay. Okay, same, okay, yeah.
All right, as long as I'm at the right one.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so there's been comprehensive planning in Wisconsin since 1941. And The thing that changed in 1999 was that the legislature decided that comprehensive planning would no longer be relatively free-form in its content and optional for cities. That starting in 2010, cities, villages, and other bodies, towns included, would be required to produce comprehensive plans. And they would be required to have a particular form and function. And the way that they would work is that they would provide guidance in the city. You know, it would have a very wide range of requirements within it. And the way it got its regulatory power was through compatibility with other things like platting and zoning, et cetera. So I've looked at the history of what happened here. So when this came along, the city of Fitchburg had a well-developed land use planning policy. It looks like there was 5 lines changed in the city ordinances to shoehorn this in and make it basically a checkbox when it's supposed to be the central element of city planning. It's not. And there is no legal opinion that the city has or was ever given as to the way that these things are done, including comprehensive plan amendments. There's no property right associated with the way that your property is covered under the comprehensive plan. Every person in the city has the same right. The comprehensive plan is a guidance document. It's not like zoning, where if you're a party who owns a property being rezoned, you get to. You're the only one who can apply for it, or the city can do it itself. No one else can apply to have your property rezoned. But that's not what's true here. This was wrong from the beginning. Completely and utterly wrong, unconstitutional, therefore unlawful and unconscionable. What I would ask here is, I'm going to be providing all people who are officers of the city with requests for the city attorney to issue opinions regarding various aspects of the way that comprehensive planning is done. I hope the way that state statutes say that any officer of the city may so ask the attorney in writing, and if so asked, the attorney must issue an opinion. So I look forward to providing you all and the rest of the officers in the city, which include all the members of all commissions, boards, etc., with the opportunity to democratize access to the city attorney who sequesters herself in an office. She is a part of the judicial system. She's regulated, and her job is the counsel for the corporation of the city of Fitchburg. Not for you guys, not for the mayor, not for anyone else. Proactively out in public, out actively helping everyone who is an elected official or works for the city know the law and follow the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I will close the public hearing at 6:58. So next we move to the consent agenda.
I move approval.
Second.
Any questions, comments? No? Okay. All those in favor of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. Okay. So next we move to the administrator report.
Mayor, can I just amend the agenda before we finish?
Yes. What do you want to do?
I want to, after your report, can we move two of the Finance Committee items?
Oh, okay.
Resolution 7925 and Resolution 8025, so we can get our representative from Ellers out of here a little bit earlier.
Oh, yes. What is finance? Yes.
Finance 9A, 2, and 3.
Okay.
After the mayor report.
Okay. Yes, I need a motion.
I move that.
Okay. Who's second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of moving resolution R 79-25 and the 8025 to to the front of the agenda. Say aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are on item 6, administrative report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start off with several events that are happening in the coming weeks, beginning with this Thursday, May 15th at 4:30 p.m. There'll be a public information meeting being held or hosted by Madison Metro regarding the bus rapid transit service. That meeting will be held here in the Common Council chambers.
The Kids Building Wisconsin event is happening this Saturday, May 17th at McKee Farms Park. That has probably become by far and away the largest event hosted in the city of Fitchburg. And folks who live and or frequent the park on Saturday mornings, live near or frequent the park on Saturday mornings should expect significant traffic, parking, pedestrian, bicyclists, and as Alder Jetzer just said, organized chaos. I added the organized part, though. The next event is there'll be a ribbon cutting at Crash Box Therapy. That is a new business opening at 319 West Beltline Highway in the Southdale neighborhood. That event will be held May 21st at 4 p.m. The Fitchburg Splash Pad located at McKee Farms Park is planned for opening Memorial Day weekend. I'm confident that that will guarantee that the weather will be warm enough to actually use this splash pad. The library will be switching to summer hours Memorial Day weekend, which means that they will be closed through the summer on Sunday afternoons. The annual Memorial Day program is scheduled for May 26th at 12:30 p.m. That will be held at the Gorman Wayside Veterans Memorial Park. The Senior Center recently hosted their pancake breakfast, and they served approximately 600 diners that day. I wanted to let the Common Council know that at least 3, if not all 4, of the most recently ordered Ford F-150 electric trucks have arrived for our highway and utility departments. We also just took delivery today for the EV that will be provided to our assessing department, and 3 additional, I think they're level 2 chargers have been installed in various city facilities to charge those vehicles. I do anticipate that our Parks Department will be coming forward with a purchase request for an additional EV pickup truck as well. I also want to inform the council that city staff is meeting this week to review call for service data in regards to monkey shines. There was obviously an unfortunate tragic incident that happened there a couple of days ago, and city staff will be assessing calls for service and determining what our options may be to take appropriate steps to ensure public safety for those who are living or working in that particular area. Our Public Works Department is doing unidirectional flushing of water mains in various areas throughout the city during the month of May. Residents may see some discoloration in their water and some pressure variation while those flushing activities are taking place. The residents are just encouraged to run their water for a little bit to flush out any of those sediments that may be coming out of that process, and their water is perfectly fine and safe to drink. Next item is the neighborhood plans for South Stoner Prairie neighborhood and the Greenfield neighborhood. Both of those draft plans are on the city's website. They can be located in the planning and zoning section, and Deanna Schmidt, our city planning and zoning administrator, has begun to take comments and feedback related to both of those plans. You should see some updated timelines with the path forward for those plans forthcoming in the next couple of weeks or so. May 29th will be a Greenfield Neighborhood Plan Steering Committee meeting as well. And then the last item I have is I just want to thank our fire department and all of the public safety folks that responded to the 2 recent structure fires that have taken place in our community. And that's all I have at this point. Any questions for me?
Questions? No? Okay. So next we move to the mayor's report. I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. We continue working with the CIP. I think we are making some progress. As you know, it's going to be difficult to make a balance, but we are working, and I think maybe next week we are going to have like a first draft. So the other thing I want to share with you, as I mentioned, The police department was doing an independent assessment for the shooting that occurred in August of last year. So the final plan assessment is already done. It was shared with me yesterday, and it is on our website for everyone that wants to review this executive summary, an action assessment for the 2024. So it's in our website in the police department section, okay? So it's here. You want to see? I have a copy here. So what are the things? I have attended several events, and I participate in a couple of panels. I had the opportunity to participate in Habitat for Humanity, Turning the Key to Ownership. We discussed about housing, how to solve some of the crisis that we have, especially in the workforce housing, area. Also, I participate in another housing panel, making moves in May. It was organized by the Women's Council Realtor. A couple of mayors from Dane County, we participated last Friday, and it was a great session. Thank you, Alde Gerhard, for participating too, for attending. I also started with my listening sessions. We started on April 23rd in District 3, and I want to thank Alder Logan and Donald. We have more than 30 people show up. It was in Fire Station number 3, and it was a great discussion. And our next one is for District 2. It's going to be June 26th at 6:30, and City on the Hill Church. Are going to be sending the flyer and more outreach for this event, so everyone is invited. I also attended the Edgewood College neighborhood meeting. I was very excited because this project is moving along at the corner of Seminole and Lacey. It seems like they're going to start with some earth movements around fall. The first phase is going to be the fields, and the second phase is the construction of the. There is another facility structure. That one is second phase. So it's great that this project is moving along. What else? The other thing I want to share is on next week, on Monday, my first intern, is coming. It's going to start working a couple of hours a week. Her name is Ella Smith, and so if you see her in City Hall, please welcome her. This is the first time I am doing this, so I don't know, it's a pilot, and, we'll see. If you have any project or thing that you want her to be involved and do research, please reach out to me. What else? I also attended an event at the Forest Edge Elementary School, but I'm going to leave that to Donald. And then, what else we did? Okay. Well, I don't know. I've seen a lot of stuff, but... Oh, and the other meeting that we have with neighbors of the Wildwood Park about the issue in the park, we met with them, and also I want to, maybe Gabriela and Bill can do, a summary of that. So, and that's it. So, any question, comments? And we have another meeting with the city of Verona, the town of Verona. We are still working on the service agreement, but it's coming. It has to come before budget. So, yes, that's it. Any question, comments? Nope? Okay. So next we move to, what is resolution? Gabriela?
Yeah, I'll move approval of Resolution R7925, revising the financial policy guidelines.
Second.
Finance did approve.
Okay.
This is an update to our financial policies. They were last updated and officially updated in 2012, although they are looked at every year. These are the financial policies that we review when we have that pre-meeting or during the committee of the whole before the budget. There were 10 sections originally. It was consolidated into 5 sections. Generally speaking, the changes were that definitions were added, reorganized some of the references to streamline it, added some flexibility to the language so that things that could be broader and more all-encompassing were broader. The metrics generally were unchanged, except that a new metric was added for a new enterprise fund revenue reserve guidelines. Land use and growth was removed because it's a comp plan and a CIP issue. And then there was some content added related to continuing disclosure, investment of debt proceeds, arbitrage rebate, and monitoring. And our representative from Ellers is here, and he can. I just gave a quick summary, but if you want to add anything, I take very detailed notes. So.
Are you available to join me for meetings later this week? That was great. So, that's right. That's right. I'll be replaced by AI someday. So, no, that was an excellent summary. I'm happy to answer questions if there are any specifically related to the policies. But I think a lot of the metrics that have been in the city's policy for many years continue to serve the city well. As has been mentioned, we do update these when we do the financial management plan. They're presented to Moody's regularly when the city has its rating presentations. So those remained intact, but a lot of the other policy changes were just to provide some updated information, consolidate the policies kind of down to 5 sections, and just kind of provide some updated language and some content that was consistent with the city's practices but wasn't addressed in the policies previously.
Okay, so we're going to go through the slideshow or no? The presentation or no?
If you guys would like, right?
If you want me to, I can.
Yes, maybe because we have new council members. I don't
Sure.
know if you can. It will be great for them.
Sounds great. So on page 273 of your packet is the summary of the changes to the existing policy components. So summarizing the 10 areas within your existing policy and how they were changed in the new policy that's before you for adoption. So first is the general fund balance. We added a chart that's consistent with the GASB definitions of fund balance to the policy, so that provided a little more context in terms of the different types of your fund balance components for the general fund. The city does assign a portion of its fund balance for specific purposes, so the policy was updated to reflect those assignments. But within the policy has historically been a range of what your financial policy metric is in terms of your minimum fund balance. That was left intact. In terms of tax rate stability, there was no change to the maximum tax rate for debt service. That's been in your policy guidelines, but it was moved to the debt guidelines section. Also, the references for operations and staffing planning long-term were moved to the financial planning guidelines that just addressed broadly your financial management plan that you complete on an annual basis. Tax rate stability in your prior policy, there was some specific language that described the methodology that should be used to forecast growth in the city's tax base going forward. It included some dated references, but also didn't provide some flexibility in terms of reacting to different circumstances, whether that would be, economic downturns or kind of particular circumstances that need to be taken into consideration, like prior to when the city absorbed portions of the town of Madison. That was something that needed to be incorporated. So in my opinion, the language that was in there was overly restrictive. It's a good practice to kind of look at conservative projections, but don't have to define it so specifically because circumstances can easily change. In terms of the debt revenues and expenses, the current language in your existing policy referenced specifically special assessments. There's other revenue sources that the city uses to pay for some of its debt service, mainly revenues from taxable finance districts and some other sources, impact fees, for example. So while that practice is good in terms of referencing revenues to pay debt, in the policy, it was more broadly addressed. It says your debt service payments should be structured around your existing debt that's outstanding, but also the various revenue sources that are pledged for repayment. So if they're collected for a period of time, the debt amortization should match that collection period, for example. Financing equipment and road maintenance, that's been moved to the capital budgeting guidelines. General targets that have been established for cash and levy financing of capital items were updated to reflect your current practices. And then your existing policy metrics for general obligation debt capacity. What that is that's the maximum amount of general obligation debt that you can have outstanding. That's restricted by state statute, but you also have the policy metric in your policy. That was moved to the debt guideline section, but your metric was unchanged. Another metric in your policy that's been in place is the debt expense as a percent of your operating budget. Again, that was moved to the debt guidelines section. There were some references in your current policy to the 2010 budget. We took that out. And then the policy, again, metric is left unchanged, as it's been a good guideline for the city over the past several years. I mentioned the debt repayment structure in terms of preferred term of debt. That was moved to debt guidelines as well. There was a specific policy on TIF borrowing that said TIF borrowing should be structured around revenues available for repayment. Again, good practice, but it shouldn't be restricted to just TIF or special assessment. That should be applied really to any revenue source that's pledged to repay debt. So again, that was more broadly addressed in the debt guidelines section. The land use and growth policy metric, nothing about the prior policy language was problematic, but really at the end of the day, your capital improvement plan, your comprehensive plan is really helping guide your infrastructure investment in terms of where that needs to be in terms of accommodating future growth opportunities. It's really those documents that in turn drive the financial investment. So I think it was appropriate really to kind of continue your current practice of really relying on those documents to guide infrastructure investment. And then the specific policy on credit rating, again, consolidated under the debt guidelines section. We added 3 areas of content to the debt guidelines section beyond what was kind of in your existing policies. These are really kind of affirmations of current practices and things that the city is undertaking but weren't previously addressed in your policies. The first is continuing disclosure. What that is annually as a requirement of the city's debt obligations is the city has to file updated financial statements and other operating data annually, so investors in the city's bonds outstanding can be kept current on the city's financial condition. So we incorporate language in the policy that kind of states that the city will remain in compliance with those disclosure requirements. Specifically, investment of debt proceeds says that any earnings on debt proceeds can be invested in project costs or help to repay the debt obligations themselves. And then finally, arbitrage rebate and monitoring, which the city does presently, but added that policy guideline into the document that basically says the city will, maintain compliance and have record keeping in place necessary to comply with arbitrage requirements. What arbitrage is a section of the federal tax code that governs the investment income that is earned on tax-exempt debt proceeds. So when the city borrows money, you can invest those proceeds for a particular period of time, subject to those arbitrage guidelines. So we added that to the policy metric as well. And then, as was mentioned, the new financial metric that was added was for the enterprise funds or your utility funds, a reserve guideline for those as well. A common way to kind of measure reserves for utility funds or funds that collect user fees is to look at a day's cash on hand metric. That's a metric that's used by rating agencies, used by the Public Service Commission. We picked the current metric that's in place for Moody's for AAA rated issuers. The city's AAA rated. So their current metric for utilities with that rating for utilities that issue debt that have a rating is 250 days of unrestricted cash on hand. So within the policy guideline, we included a formula and example of how that is calculated. All your utilities, based on your most recent audited financial statements from 2023, had days cash on hand in excess of the 250 minimum days referenced in the policy. So that's the update to the financial policies and kind of the consolidation that occurred.
Okay. Any question, comments? I have a question. We do, I don't know where this is a financial, it's under financial policy or no, we established a couple of years ago the replacement fund, okay? So why is it not part of this group of policies?
I think it was kind of broadly addressed kind of in the capital policy section, kind of stating that, your objective to kind of have cash on hand and levy for cash of kind of routine capital assets. I think, practically speaking, the city isn't in this position, but what we're seeing other communities, being forced under levy limits that they can't necessarily cash finance as many items as they have in the past historically, because there's no exception for cash financing of capital under levy limits, even though it's a great financial practice. And so, establishing kind of a benchmark or target may become impractical under a levy limit consideration. The city hasn't had as much of that pressure, but part of addressing it too specifically, particularly in the context of levy limits, I think over time could present some challenges. So we kind of more broadly referenced your current practices, but didn't have a specific target, largely because of levy limit considerations long term.
Okay. And Bill.
Regarding the land use and growth, so in removing this, are we changing at all the way we manage it? I mean, so we hadn't been applying any specific accounting principles to the management of our city's parcels or anything like that we're going to drop by the wayside now?
Yeah, the language that was in your previous policy, and I'm paraphrasing, generally said that, the city will try to target, capital investment in areas that are, deemed as appropriate for growth, and development opportunities. Nothing wrong with that particular statement, but there's really no financial metric that you can really go back and say, how did we accomplish that particular objective? I think you're doing that through the establishment of your CIP, utilization of TIF districts that can potentially guide investment in particular area. So I think your current capital planning practices are kind of doing that by default versus kind of having it as a financial metric. How do you really quantify that at the end of the day? So, you're doing that in terms of your regular capital planning, but just not calling that out specifically.
Okay, so dropping this from our financial policy guidelines will not change in any way.
No.
Any of the way we're handling that. All right.
Any other question, comments? Dave, okay.
I'm sorry, Greg, I'm ignorant. What does the term arbitrage refer to?
So arbitrage is, again, the investment income that you earn when you borrow money on a tax-exempt basis to fund infrastructure projects. The city receives those debt proceeds, and you may have them for a period of time, and you can invest them in permitted investments under the IRS tax code. And arbitrage regulations kind of govern and define how much of that investment income you can earn over what period of time. What arbitrage prevents is borrowing money on a tax-exempt basis and investing it for an unlimited period of time at a higher yielding investment.
Okay.
That's called yield burning. And years ago, the IRS kind of wanted to prohibit that from occurring. So it's not that you can earn investment income on your tax-exempt debt proceeds. There's just limits. And if you earn excess amounts, those have to be rebated back to the IRS. So it's things the city has been responsible for complying with, for many years. We added it to the policy because it is kind of a practice that you're agreed to under your existing debt covenants. It's something you're doing, but we felt it was appropriate to be mentioned in the policy, similar to the continuing disclosure. It's important things that kind of get done that are in compliance with federal tax code.
Thank you. Excellent explanation.
Thank you.
Any other question, comments? Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-79-25, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So next one.
I'll move approval of resolution R-80-25, revising the investment policy and designating public depositories.
Second.
Okay.
Finance did approve.
Okay.
This is a little simpler, but removed outdated references, added a section on collateralization for deposits, and then added attachments rather than include really specific things in the text, things that could change frequently, pulled that out into attachments that are easier to update. So it's really kind of a baseline policy. I'll turn it over to Greg in case he wants to add anything.
Yeah.
Just more of kind of
Yeah.
referencing, as was mentioned, really kind of updating specific statutory references and just addressing best practices and attaching the reference to statutes as an appendix. Just so as minor changes get made to statutes, section numbers get changed or tweaked, you don't have to rewrite your policy just because a minor change was made in statutory or in the codification process. But largely keeps a lot of the good fundamentals you had in your existing policy, just updating it for those best practices.
I have a question because the last time that we update or revise all of this, it was 2012. So how often do we need to revise all our financial policies? You know what I mean?
I think it's kind of as needed. I think, we had discussions with staff about, do we put something in the resolution as far as how often it should be updated? And it's really, kind of based on kind of need and changing circumstances. The city has utilized the metrics in these policies regularly on multiple occasions throughout the year for various purposes. So you've really been utilizing it. It's just, we are updating the text to kind of make it more, more current and not putting anything in there that was overly restrictive. So it's really as needed.
Okay, thank you. Any question, comment? Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-80-25, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, so where we are?
Plan Commission.
Plan Commission.
I'll move approval of Ordinance 2025-002 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0125, adopting and recommending the Spring 2025 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending MAP 4.3 Future Land Use Plan, map for property located off Nesbitt Road from BUS Business to HDR High Density Residential.
Second.
Plan Commission did approve.
Okay, what is this, Gabriela?
This is a lot off of Nesbitt Road, right across from 10-Pin Bowling Alley. It is J.T. Klein, a multifamily developer, is looking at a project. It would be 240 units of senior housing, some of which would be affordable units. The benefits of it is it's right on the bus line. There's literally a stop like right behind it on the other, not on Nesbitt, but on the other side. And it's obviously relatively walkable to Target and other shopping. And we are in need of senior housing across the board. Senior means 62 plus. That's would be the requirement. They will be senior homes in perpetuity. The affordable units will be 30 to 80% of area median income, which you can think 30,000 to 108,000 a year. It'll be managed by Oak Brook Corporation, and that's the idea, although I will clarify that this is just a change in land use. It's not a rezone. It's not approval of the project. It's just clarity about why this is coming forward.
Okay, so we have the developers are here. I don't know, Jacob, do you want to speak? Or Danny? We have Danny Affable online. I don't know, do you want to speak about this? Yeah? Okay. Dave?
Just got a question. I don't see Ben on. That's kind of, looked like it was set up for stormwater maintenance, so it looks like that was part of the stormwater plan when we did Orchard Point. Am I missing something there?
Scott, I have the site plan or proposed site plan on my screen. If you want to bring that up, that might help clarify where the site specifically is located.
I think it's next to.
There's the gymnastics place right in the corner, and this would be next to it.
Oh.
So I think that's stormwater facility.
Yeah, there's some stormwater facilities that would remain to the north. And then there's also a larger regional stormwater pond that is on the, east side of Nesbitt, off behind the daycare, dog daycare or dog hospital, or animal hospital, I guess I should refer to it as.
Okay. So that really, the way it was contoured after it was built, it was kind of depressions and dikes. I guess I was wrong to assume that was part of the stormwater for Orchard Point. Okay.
Diana, do you want to add anything else about this?
No, if there's just any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer it.
So this is an amendment to the comp plan. This is a minor amendment to the comp plan that it was moved, what was a couple of months ago?
Yeah, back in March.
March,
Plan
yeah,
Commission
and
looked
it
at
was approved in plan. So we are changing the density.
And I will see JT Klein also did the affordable housing unit that's to the north, right behind Hy-Vee. So they've done other projects successful projects in the city.
Who is Dave? Okay.
I would just add, this it's a high density. I feel this is the perfect location. It's not impeding on an existing neighborhood, changing the character. A bus line, walkable to shopping. I think this is exactly the type of, we're putting in high density. This is the spot.
And also, this is going to be, affordable senior housing, and it's close to the transit, and also all the shopping and all the other activities. So it's walkable. So.
And we have the we put in a roundabout there a number of years ago. So we have a traffic moderating structure there.
Any other comments? Ed, Bill.
Yeah, and this is strictly housing. There's no retail planned for first floor anywhere here?
Don't remember.
There is no retail planned at this time.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of Ordinance 2025-0-02 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-01-25, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Or any opposed, the motion carried. Okay, thank you. So next we move to Board of Public Works.
So I'll move approval of Resolution R7125, approving purchase of Bobcat Tomcat.
Second.
Board of Public Works approved.
Finance approved.
Okay, what is this?
So we had in our equipment initially our replacement to replace the 2015 Jeep that we had, and that had some limited flexibility, like when we put a plow on it, a little too wide for plowing sidewalks, and limited functionality, and decided it would make better use to buy a Bobcat Tomcat that has multiple uses, a little bit smaller and more functional for the department. So they made a decision to get that instead of another Jeep.
Okay, any question, comments? I think this is...
We have one of these already.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All those in favor of Resolution R-71-25, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next one.
Move approval of Resolution R7525, authorizing Amendment 3 to South Saline Road Reconstruction Design Services with K&L Engineering.
Second.
Public Works approved.
Finance approved.
Okay. What is this?
So, the timing, as you're well aware, the timing of this road changed from when we started. The K&L kind of did an initial design, picked up their pencils, and then it changed some things like mid-block crossing and some other things. So with the final design, there was additional work that had to be done, and we requested that. But also, I believe there was some unspent money. So the amount of work they did was somewhat substantial, but the change they're requesting is in the $30,000 range. So I think it worked out pretty well that we delaying the project, that we didn't get hit with a bigger change to get to the final design. Tim, you want to weigh in, or Bill, you want to add anything on that?
It's only $30,000 more, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a lot of money, but normally these redesigns can be changed, or it could be half of the.
But we're spending $8 million in this project, so.
if we looked at the percentage, considering we stopped the design and
Yeah.
moved it forward, I thought this was a win for us.
Okay, any questions, comments?
Just that outlines a bunch of the changes,
Yeah.
that they did.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-75-25, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next, we move to Park Commission.
I'll move approval of Resolution R-6525, approval of replacement of playground structure and swing set at Rimrock Park.
Second.
Parks Commission approved.
Finance approved.
Just
Okay, yes.
time to worn out. The other one was worn out. Time to update that equipment.
So we are replacing a park equipment. That's
We're
it.
replacing what's there. Yes.
Any question, comments? Yeah.
Just one thing I learned in finance was that Parks was able to do a survey of the residents, and they chose this design. And Parks Commission agreed, but they got some input.
Yep. He got input. It's as you're all well aware. It's difficult to get substantial amount of input.
Yeah.
And Scott summarized the input he got, very, very well, but it wasn't. We didn't have a lot of people that weighed in, but we took the ones that did. We took their suggestions into account.
But we do it with all the, when we replace this, we ask feedback from the resident. So this is good too, you know what I mean. Okay, any other comments? Yes, okay.
I had a resident from somebody from Southdale ask me kind of about the phasing of this and why this park was being done before the larger Southdale park. I'm just wondering if we could kind of dive into that. And also, I believe I saw that some of the equipment that is being replaced is like 20-ish, 25 years old. Do we have kind of a standard timeline? Should we be planning to replace everything every 30 years, every 20 years?
I think Chad can address that.
This one's coming.
Or Scott's on.
Scott, okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Scott. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. We have approximately 40 playground modules within the park system, and we really try to replace them every, one a year. They typically will last 20 to 25 years. And certainly to your question of Southdale, we are currently working on replacement of the playground in Southdale Park. That was also scheduled for this year, so you can anticipate seeing that in the very near future. So it was going to be this park along with Southdale playground equipment replacement.
Okay, I need to ask a question because this one was, this resolution was amended by.
That's the next one.
Next,
That'll be.
Okay.
I believe it's
That's the next one.
I believe it's the next one.
The next one. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
If I can follow up then, Scott, if the construction of both, did I hear you correctly in saying that both Rimrock and Southdale Parks will be seeing some improvements, shovels in the dirt during calendar year 2025?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. And is that being done in a way that there will still be at least one of the two parks? I would just not want to see both of them closed at the exact same time for upgrades and then there be nothing in the park for that, that significant size neighborhood.
Yeah, this one I would suspect Rimrock will come first and then Southdale will come later. And there, the park maintenance crew, what we'll do is we remove them, but we wait until the installation crew is ready to install. And it really only takes maybe 6 or 7 work days, if you would, from start to finish, removal to installation of the new playground. Certainly, I understand your thought there, but it really is kind of a small window in which there's no playground, if you would. But we can, try to time them out so that at least one of them will be open all the time.
I think that would be a great way to move forward, and I appreciate that, Scott.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other question for Scott? Before Scott, we finish, I want to say, as you know, Scott is retiring in June. So I want to say, Scott, thank you very much for all your years of service to the city. I think they're like more than 19 years. So I want to say thank you and enjoy your retirement, and you will be missed.
Enjoy your retirement, man. You got me on my first tour of all of the parks in the city of Fitchburg on a hot day, so I always remember that and the graciousness you provided. But I enjoyed it. It was a good time, and I wish you well in retirement, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, isn't there an ordinance that the council has to approve a retirement like that? He sprung it on us.
We still got work to do, though.
I know we
guys,
do.
so.
A couple of more more weeks. So, okay.
Yes,
So, yes. Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-65-25, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So next one. Okay, that one is another park.
I move approval of amended resolution R-7325, approval of park amenity improvements in Highfield Reserve, outlot number 3.
Second.
Parks Commission approved and Board of Public Works also approved.
And Finance approved.
But it was approved with some amendments, isn't it?
Public Works, I believe, was the amendment.
Yeah, Finance approved as amended by Public Works.
Okay. Okay. So I want to be sure what we are approving. Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
The
What is
amendment,
this?
I believe the amendment, the bid came in, we're looking it up there, the bid came in below what our initial estimate was, and we revised the wording of the amendment to reflect that we have the ability to spend up to the budgeted amount, the $96,000, but we also in the amendment, in the wording, we put in the amount that we received from the vendor for the work, and the remainder we're essentially leaving as a contingency.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Is that right?
Okay.
And then also, the whereas was corrected to reflect the appropriate, the actual winning bidder and the dollar amount.
Okay. Okay, so this one is, can you explain what we are doing here?
This is a new park.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we're putting in the playground amenities there. There'll be a fence all the way around this one, most of the way around, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
It
doesn't go entirely around.
Oh, okay.
Alder, Dave.
And it's somewhat of a.
Do we have a picture or no?
Is the topography somewhat challenging there, Scott, or am I thinking about the other one?
You're thinking of the other one. What might be, if I may, just add that the process that we've gone through in order to get this approved is similar to the process that we went through with the Crescent Crossing development, where the developer actually went out and advertised per our standards and policies and received the bids, and then they worked through the Park Commission they came in with the first draft of what the concept would be, and then there was some alterations that the Park Commission recommended, which they accommodated. Then they bid the project, and we did receive 2 bids, and the winning bid was from Madison Commercial. And what will happen now is the developer will go ahead and work with Madison Commercial to get the park developed. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, what will happen is the developer will receive credit for the dollars that they spent towards the bond that they posted for the park improvement fees and the fee in lieu of parkland dedication. So it really is a good process. The developer goes through the process, and that kind of takes the burden off of staff, if you would. But the Park Commission is involved, and they approve the bids, and so it really works out pretty well.
You want to talk about the logs and the rock?
I'm sorry.
About the unique, the kind of the logs and the climbing, the unique feature in this park.
Oh.
And I met Salisbury from D'Onofrio. He's he's the landscape architect who kind of put together the design, so he could, and the Park Commission actually commented on that too, how different it is, and it's really kind of a fresh approach to the design of the park.
Two things I would add.
Okay.
At Public Works, Alder Jetzer commented, we don't have a lot of accessibility features in this park, but we have another, there's several parks going to be built in this neighborhood, and there's another one not that far away. So, we can incorporate some of that. There came a request from the Fitchburg Bike to put a bike repair station in here, and we decided against that. The smaller park, we didn't feel it was merited in here, and there is a bike rack that will be going in with this facility.
Okay. Any other question, comments?
I have one comment.
Yes.
Just if I could channel my daughters on a comment here. I really appreciate the design of this, the kind of natural structures of this, and like something different as opposed to the just like standard monkey bars and slide type plastic playgrounds that we have. Like, this is really appreciated, and I think if like the kids of Fitchburg were here voting, they would be very appreciative of this as a park. So I'd like to see more of this in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So all those in favor of resolution R-73-25 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay. Thank you. Anything else from parks?
No,
No?
I don't have
Okay.
anything right now.
So next we move to the, thank you, Scott. Next we move to the library board. Any update?
We meet next on May 21st.
Okay.
Oh, Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I just saw on Parks, Christina is our new chairperson for
yeah.
Parks.
Okay, yeah.
Was elected last time.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Commission of Aging Well.
We are establishing a co-working space where we are outlining, basically going over the outreach efforts to bring more individuals to the community, to the senior center, and just make more individuals who fit the population that will come to the senior center aware of what's going on and the different initiatives that the senior center has to offer. Earlier today, they had an Aging Well convention day down at the Capitol. So myself, and we didn't get a chance to cross paths, but I know Jill was there. We're both there learning about the different legislative opportunities and updates and things that are going on throughout the state with the aging population. And yeah, that's the biggest update that I have for you for now.
Okay, thank you. Alder Maldonado.
Yeah, just adding to that, Jill and Janice Hughes, one of the members of Commission on Aging Well, invited alders to individual meetings to talk about demographics in their district. So I was able to join last week. I pulled out the GIS system, which is really useful for kind of breaking that information down, and just kind of talked about some other, information about where resources is, where people gather, kind of what neighborhood associations and other resources there are in the neighborhood. So in the neighborhoods in District 1. So they're going to be doing that with every other district as well. So it was a really good experience, very committed committee, and they asked a lot of great questions. And I was just sharing my appreciation with Jill and her staff's commitment to equity, and really kind of trying their best to understand what our residents across the city need.
Good call, Joe. I completely forgot about that, bro. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, they will be reaching out to alders, and thank you, Alder Maldonado, and the rest of the alders. I'm sure if you participated as well, but everyone will have the opportunity to participate. And then also, I think, Julia, they will be inviting you as well. And this is a part of the outreach efforts I mentioned, just to get a better understanding of our various districts and the services that are offered, and then also making things for the senior center more widely available to individuals as well. So thank you for mentioning that, Joe.
Okay, and also I want to mention that tomorrow we are going to be celebrating Older Americans Month celebration. It's the people that they are more than 90 years old, and tomorrow is going to be an activity on the senior center starting at 11:45. I need to go there to do some, but I went there last year. It was incredible how many people, older American and older people from Fitchburg, more than 90 years old, they are here in our community. It's incredible. So we are going to take a picture. So we are going to celebrate them for the 90 years or more. So I think this is a great event. So everyone is invited tomorrow if you have time. Okay. So okay. Where we are? Resource Conservation Commission.
Yes, we met last night. We discussed the private well ordinance that we will be taking up a few line items down from where we are in the agenda. We discussed the stormwater and open space aspects of the Greenfield and South Stoner Prairie plans. Had a recap of our waterway cleanups. There was good turnout in 3 or 4 locations, and picked up a lot of trash, but there was a general consensus that our efforts over the years seem to be paying off, and there was less trash out there this year than previous years. So that was good. The paper shredding and electronics recycling event took place a few weeks ago. We collected 9,000 pounds of paper and 8,600 pounds of electronics.
Wow.
Quite a long line. If you were there and you had some paper to drop off, you probably had to wait in line on the road in your vehicle because we had that much going on there. June 17th at the library, there will be a presentation on organics, composting, food scraps, that kind of thing. We'll have speakers from Sustain Dane, from the university, and from Groundswell, Paisley Farm. And we did get a small grant from the county to start collecting food scraps at the Fitchburg Farmers Market, and that should start in July.
Collecting what?
Food scraps.
What is that?
Food waste.
Oh,
pineapple peels, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're going to start up Green Thursdays at the library again, so that'll probably happen in September. Every other month or so, we'll have a documentary plus a discussion. Some documentary about something sustainable. And a bit of sad news. You'll recall the garbage cart cameras that I had talked about in a previous meeting. The funding was through NSF, and yes, and that has been canceled. Yes, so that won't be happening.
Mm-hmm. Fun. Okay. Yes.
If you want to put it on your agenda sometime, discussing possible biochar, and maybe we're mulching and we're doing all these things. Consider biochar. If you I'd be willing to come and talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
No, thank you. So then we move to Transportation and Transit Commission.
All right. I'll start by moving approval of Resolution R6925, adopting a Vision Zero policy.
Second.
TTC made several amendments which were approved.
Public Works approved.
With amendments? Okay. So can you explain those amendments and explain what we are trying to do with this Vision Zero?
Sure. So kind of the overall vision of Vision Zero, if you will, is to kind of create this paradigm shift that says that people getting in crashes and dying on our roads and our, our paths and everything, it's not inevitable, that there are mistakes that people will inevitably make while they're behind the wheel, but those can be, we can build an infrastructure that will mitigate some of the effects of that and hopefully lead to less severe outcomes. This is something we've seen a lot of municipalities move in this direction. City of Madison has been pretty well known for their Vision Zero efforts. Sun Prairie has gone in this direction, as well as some others. We have made, from TTC, there were several amendments. We've been kind of bouncing this back and forth for quite a while, as some of the members on this council are aware of from our time on TTC. Kind of one of the main sticking points has been whether we put an effective date on this, and saying that we commit to 0 traffic fatalities in the city of Fitchburg by, we discussed 2030, 2035. As it stands now, there is no effective date on the resolution because of a number of factors, primarily being that the implementation of it was reliant on the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, which that's not, sitting in front of us here at this point, so kind of hard to get ahead of that. That would be kind of the main, some of the main points that were made in those amendments. One of them also highlighting the number of folks that don't drive, which Alder Jetzer has shared several times, and that number's really stuck with me. And I will certainly, if I missed anything else, we've got some good TTC representation or TTC alum representation, so anyone can feel free to fill in blanks.
Also, our city engineer, Ross Kohler, is here. So, Ross, do you want to add anything else to this?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions that any alders might have or clarify any of the amendments if there's specific questions on those.
Okay, thank you. Any question, comments?
Yeah, what is the, as of May 13th, status of the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan? Is there any?
No update from our last TTC meeting. So just for context for everyone who's not on TTC, there's a resolution mentioned in the referral sheet here, R14124, where Common Council basically approved and supported a grant application through the Greater Madison MPO for a comprehensive safety action plan for the city of Fitchburg. That grant involves federal funding, and all federal funding of this type is under review, I think is the official terminology, by the the United States Secretary of Transportation. So we have been awarded that grant, but we have not heard any updates on it since we were told we were awarded. So we don't have an agreement signed, we don't have the money in hand or anything. And just for context, that's $240,000 of grant money that would go towards this comprehensive safety action plan that's estimated to cost $300,000 total. So the city's contributing $60,000 and the grant would be contributing $240,000. But again, we don't have any updates on the status of that funding.
Okay, thank you. Any other question, comment? Gabriela.
So I'd never heard of Vision Zero until it was beginning to be discussed in TTC. And having been on TTC for many years, I've learned a lot more about how the design of roads drives decision making and drives behavior. And I noticed it now when I drive around. Obviously, roundabouts are the most obvious traffic control that can create safety, but I remember driving by intersections in Madison where there's those, the curb like comes in just for one spot and narrows the road. And having been through that myself, I was like, oh, I slow down immediately when I see that. And it's just amazing how psychological driving is. And if we really want people to be safe, we have to design our roads to be safe. And we have some roads challenges here in particular with how wide some of our roads are. That is going to be a consistent issue, not to mention the fact that we don't have sidewalks in many neighborhoods. But I think it's great for us to decide that we don't want any traffic deaths. I think that's it's a pretty big deal. I mean, it's a really important thing for us to say, no, it's not acceptable for people to die on the road. And I think a lot of people assume it's something that's going to happen. And I think it's good for us to say, no, it doesn't have to happen. And we want to make motions towards that. I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm happy to vote for this. And I'm happy for our city to be part of the group of cities that's saying this doesn't have to be the world that we live in.
Yes, and I would like to add that I was very impressed with the PDF, attached to the resolution. This is very good information for people that they don't have any idea what Vision Zero is, and I would like if we can in our website, in the in your section, Ross, in the transportation, I don't know where, if we can add this PDF and explain what Vision Zero is and what if this council approves this resolution and what is so important. And because I was looking at other municipality websites that they have Vision Zero, have implemented Vision Zero, and they have that information on the website. So it's a good way to also to communicate to the resident what is this too. Okay, but I think this PDF is great. So with a lot of information. So I think this is a great thing that we are doing. Okay, any other question, comments? Bill?
Just a point of clarification. So we have on the referral sheet here a set of amendments, and I believe the resolution in the packet includes these amendments, right?
Yeah, we are approving this as amended in TTC and the Board of Public Works.
Yes, okay. I also just wanted to, I'll echo a lot of what Alder Gerhardt said. This is, I think there's been a history of a fairly short history, measured in decades rather than centuries, of course, of kind of dedicating a lot of our public space to the fast, efficient flow of car traffic, to the detriment of anyone outside of the car. And so that's one of the most important aspects of this is, kind of making the statement that streets are for people as well as cars. Cities are for people. This is going to increase, aside from the harm that it removes, it also will increase human health. People get outside, do some exercise, rather than take the car, walk somewhere, take the bus, ride your bike, and be safe doing so.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, any other comments? Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-69-25 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, everyone that participated in this resolution.
Madam Mayor, could I
Yeah.
suggest we revise the agenda to move up item resolution R-7225 to right now?
What is that one?
The turnout
Second.
firefighters turnout gear.
What is that?
It's 9A number 1.
If I may offer, if you're going to move that one up, you may also want to move up R-8125, since that's also a fire department related matter.
I'd like to move both of those up.
Okay, I need to. Okay,
Second.
One second.
Under finance,
Finance, which one is?
A1 and A4.
This one and this one. Okay. Okay, who moved this?
Dave, and a second by Gabriel.
Okay, all those in favor of moving this two resolution up in the agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. Okay, so where we are now, we are.
I'll move
Okay.
approval of Resolution R7225, approval to purchase replacement firefighting turnout gear.
Second.
Finance Committee approved, and I'll let
Okay,
Chad,
since you are here,
take it away.
Chief.
Yes, thank you. So, Resolution 7225 is our annual turnout replacement request according to the National Fire Protection Agency 1851, which is a standard on selection, care, and maintenance of protective ensembles for structural firefighting and proximity firefighting gear. Our turnout gear has a lifespan of 10 years. This order will allow the department to replace 12 sets of gear that are set to expire in the fall of 2025.
Okay. Any question, comments? Nope. I think this is something that we do every 10 years, isn't it?
Every year.
Every
Yep.
year.
Yeah.
Oh, every year.
But the gear lasts 10
10
years
years,
before
yeah.
you
Okay.
replace
Okay.
it. Correct.
So, 10
Yes.
years. Any other question, comments? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-72-25, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next one. Gabriel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I move approval of Resolution R8125, amending the 2025 general fund budget, Fire Department Tower lease payment.
Second.
And this was passed by Finance.
Okay. So, what is this, Chief?
Yeah, so last year we had entered an agreement in the use of a tower up on Sign Road that has hardware on there for our or the Fitchburg Verona analog tactical system. It's our on-scene operating analog radio system for larger incidents in structure fires. So last year, new owner of tower had to get into a lease agreement, and we did that. Payment was made last year. From one part of the budget, we are doing a budget amendment to move that or get the monies from our account 110 in the amount of $9,270. And account number 110 has the money from the fire chief vacancy that we can transfer over into account 350, which is leases and rentals, where it should be coming from. And then as we move forward, we'll make sure that those appropriate funds are in account 350 for future payments.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Logan.
Yeah, when does the current lease on this tower expire?
So right now we're paying on an annual basis. And then I know, so an annual basis right now. And then we are looking at, I know Mr. Jetzer asked about the possibility of moving the equipment off of this tower and onto the upcoming proposed new water tower over in Terra Bessa. We will look into that, but we also, just to add into Mr. Jetzer's question, is we'll have to look at how that affects our radio coverage in the North Fishhatchee Road area then.
Okay. I heard that the tail end of Finance Committee, and I thought that was also a great idea, assuming, of course, that there's no impacts to the actual use of the equipment that relies on that tower, keeping it in-house and not having to pay that lease costs in future years. So,
yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any question, comment? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-81-25, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. So next we move to where?
H.
Oh, H. It was this. SIDA.
Yes, we met on April 24th. A lot of different things. We had a Edgewood College Athletic Complex update, update on the redevelopment of Bowman Plaza, update on the Uptown Hills Workforce Townhomes project, the JT Klein Affordable Senior Housing Project, and then just kind of your standard updates from our various committee members. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next one is Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee, and we need to postpone this.
Yeah, I will move to postpone 2025-0-07 to the May 27th council meeting.
Second.
So we deferred this at the last meeting so that Ag and Rural could consult with Public Works to discuss more, and we will be doing that on Monday the 19th.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of postponing ordinance 2025-0-07 say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, thank you. So next we move to
Can I
bicycle.
can I say one thing? So I just wanted to say for Ag and Rural, we normally would have met on May 20th, but we had a lack of quorum that day, so we are meeting on Monday the 19th instead.
Yes. So next is Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission. Any update?
We met on May 7th. We have a new member who obviously you all confirmed on council. We elected Andy Potts as our chair. Got updates on the Vision Zero policy, a few updates on the bike and ped network, and just folks had a few questions about the CIP process and how it worked. And I gave an update, which I gave at council about the Duns Marsh walk that we did. So that's about it.
Thank you. EMS Commission. Okay, Nicole is not here, so we move to Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. No, H&I, no. Oh.
Is that me?
Oh, we are in the strategic plan. Yeah, we need to postpone this. Okay, sorry. You need to postpone this to June 10th. Can you move the resolution, Donald? Well, we can do it here. Can you do it? Ariana?
I'll move to postpone Resolution R 19624 to the June 10th council meeting.
Second.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. All those in favor of postponing this resolution to June 10th, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, so next one. You have another one. Donald.
Can somebody read it for me? I'm not able.
Yep.
I'm not in front of my computer right now. I'm sorry.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 7425 to approve the 2025 funding awards for the Healthy Neighborhoods Grant Program, as amended by Finance.
Second.
Did H&I approve this? Yes, I watched the meeting. Did Finance Committee approve it?
Yes, Finance Committee approved, and the amendment was just to fix a typo. There was an extra phrase in the fourth clause that was repeated, so just cleaning that up.
Okay, so Diana, can you explain this? Thank you.
Certainly can. Good evening, everyone. This is the 2025 Healthy Neighborhoods Grant Program. Staff received and processed 19 applications this year, definitely the largest by far in terms of the numbers of applications. The Healthy Neighborhoods Advisory Committee and staff jointly reviewed each application and scored them. Staff has made a recommendation to fund the top scoring 13 applications. So there's a total availability of funds this year of approximately $145,000. There was a request for almost $244,000. So of course we couldn't fund every application received this year. So staff is recommending, based on that scoring, to fund the top 13 scores for this year. There's a mix of organizations funding English language learning, youth education, youth sports. Quite a bit of the funds goes to food banks and food-related items, and I am happy to take any questions.
Yes, can you explain, so for the people that are watching, why this year we have almost $145,000 in funding for this initiative?
I certainly can. So there is general funds that first went, and don't remember the exact numbers, but we have some general funds. And then Mayor, you also added another 50,000 from TID funds. And then we have rolled over from unclaimed funding from previous years of 17,000. So to my knowledge, this is the largest amount of funding that we've ever had, and certainly a bit unusual in the history of the grant program.
Yes, and yeah. So because this, I want to clarify this because there is a lot of misinformation out there. It's because we added additional funding for the TID closure, and also because there are some money coming from previous year that it was not used, but this is not like it was allocated this amount in last year budget. It was a combination of several things. My other question is, can you explain, because last year I have a couple of people, residents, that they are very upset because they say that we are providing funding to organizations that they are affiliated with churches, you know what I mean? One is the Catholic Multicultural Center and the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Can you explain why, where is the separation of state and government here? Because, I want to be clear that we are not providing the funding to the church, we are providing the fund to an affiliated organization. Can you explain that, Diana? Because there was a lot of concern about this.
Of course. And just to clarify too, we have funded Catholic Multicultural Charities and the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church Allied Food Pantry last year. And legally, there is no problem, no issues with separation of church and state, as long as what the funds are used for have nothing to do with religious activities. Our application materials are very clear that these funds, as public funds, cannot be used for any activities related to religious activities. But we can fund organizations, and the staff has worked closely with our city attorney. We can fund organizations that are affiliated with religious entities, as long as those public dollars are not used for religious activities. So, for example, Catholic Multicultural Charities are proposing to use funds from the 2025 grant program for English education classes, for food, a food pantry, and they cannot use those funds in any way related to religious activities.
Okay, thank you. Alder Maldonado, go ahead.
Yeah, Deanna, I think you might have mentioned it in your kind of discussion of the process, but were those top 13 organizations provided the exact amount they asked for, or was there kind of a more complex system where, maybe to spread the wealth, like some organizations got less than they asked for, and was that whatever process was used, was that a decision of the committee, or was that kind of criteria that was set out prior to them making their decision?
We do the best that we can. We funded the top handful to the fullest extent. It's a tough balance. Do we fund more organizations, or do we reduce the funding by a little bit? So in general, we are proposing to reduce the funding by a little bit for some organizations, but not so much that we feel that it would compromise their programming. So, for example, quite a few, of course, requested the full amount that's allowable under the program of $15,000. You can see that in some cases we've reduced. We've only granted the Allied Food Pantry the $15,000. So it's a complex process. It's kind of hit or miss. And we're just kind of doing the best that we can with that.
Thank you, Deanna. That was a clear explanation. The other thing is when I met with a couple folks from the Commission on Aging Well, they had asked if there was a possibility to be able to meet with some of the funded organizations. So I just wanted to pass that feedback along. They wanted to make sure that kind of the services that we're providing, particularly around older adults, were sort of in communication and alignment with the services that the Senior Center are offering. So I just wanted to share that feedback.
We can do that.
And also, I want to explain that explain that this is a reimbursable grant. So the organization need to provide the service, and then they need to send us a report, what they have done, and then we send a check. Okay, so we have a very good internal control. Okay, so it's a reimbursable grant. Other thing that I want to mention is that I was disappointed to see that the Badger Prairie Needs Network didn't get the $15,000 that they asked, and they only get $10,000. This is an organization that, as you know, was the first one we started funding way back, and also they don't have any pay staff. They are running 100% volunteer, so they don't have any direct cost. You know what I mean, about staffing and all of that stuff. So that one was about, and 70% of the people that go to the Badger Prairie Needs Network are from Fitchburg. So I was a little, disappointed that they didn't get the $15,000, but I want to make that comment. We can make changes here if we want, so But and I was. Yeah, because of the other food pantry got the $15,000, the Ally, and what is the other one? And the River Food Pantry got $15,000 too. And I was surprised to see that this one didn't get the 15. So that was my comment. Any other? Yes.
So last year we rolled over some money into this year. Did we spend everything that we have, to your point, Madam Mayor, available in that fund, or if we wanted to increase that number for Badger Prairie, is there money left in the bank that we could do so for this specific program?
I don't think so. No.
No, there's not. This is what was allocated.
I can take that. Yeah, we do have a little bit of funding that's still sitting in that account that we haven't allocated it in this particular resolution, but I guess I gotta get my glasses on here. Maybe about another $1,000 that we have a little bit to play with, but we've allocated almost everything that we have in that account.
Okay. Any questions, comment? Yes.
Just a comment. There are some extraordinary nonprofits in this community, and there are a ton of nonprofits, not just this list, but many more that do good work for our residents in Fitchburg. We have a lot of residents that live that struggle economically for a lot of different reasons, and that's not the only people that are served by these grants. There's others as well that are served by job services and youth mentoring, but these are real needs of the city, and when we have healthy, well-supported citizens, our neighborhoods are safer, and public safety, when we talk about public safety, supporting our neighbors in this way is a piece of that. We have to look at public safety holistically, and it cannot just be, it's not just about responding to crisis or responding to issues. It's also about addressing root causes of issues. And many of these, food insecurity, job insecurity, youth not having a place to go or programs to do, or at risk of not graduating high school, for example, all of those things are root causes of bigger societal issues that have a real cost to our society. When you invest early on, it saves us a lot more money in the long run. Not that that's the reason to do it. The reason to do it is because it's the right thing to do, but it also is the economic thing to do. It's just the math is a little bit less obvious. It's a little bit less one-to-one, but when we invest in addressing root causes, it's better for the people and it's better for the bottom line as a whole. So I think this is a really unique program, a great program. I know other communities that have asked me about this and want to emulate this type of program, but there are a lot of needs in our city, and I'm really happy that we can dedicate some funding to the organizations that are able to address those needs in ways that the city cannot.
I agree to that. Okay, Micah.
Yeah, I can't say much better than that. I want to add, if anyone's watching and has questions about the impact that these grants have or the importance of them, to watch the Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative meeting that's on FACTv, where everyone made their presentations to the committee in order to get funding. Just to see the impact that these have. Many of the people that work in these organizations are volunteers. Many of those volunteers are just residents of our city and our neighbors. And so I'd urge people that have any questions about how these grants are being used to just watch that recording and see the kind of the impact that they're having in the community. So, thanks.
Thank you. Joe, go ahead.
Mayor, I just want to make a request. I know that you're there's going to be an intern coming on soon. I think it would be a really good idea for just a really quick kind of visibility thing to maybe make a social media post with each organization that was awarded, maybe like a picture of their organization and potentially like a quote from the application that they submitted, just showing the impact of their work. Maybe putting those social media posts over the course of a few days, just to say, like, it could be on the Fitchburg web, like Facebook page, saying, Badger Prairie Needs Network, X program, a quote, picture of their facility or picture that they may have submitted. I think an intern would be able to knock something out like that in, a couple hours.
Okay.
And it would be a good job to just expose the organizations and give them credit for their work.
Okay, I think it's a good idea. Thank you. Anything else? Nope. No one wants to amend no? Okay. So where we are here. Okay. So all those in favor of resolution R-74-25 say yes. Say
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Diana. Okay. Next, we move to Housing Advisory Committee.
We meet next in June.
Landmark Preservation Commission.
No report.
Tree Advisory Committee.
Yes. So we met on May 8th. We looked at the proposed plans for the Kyle Steger Greenway, which is kind of near Rose Common Park, right along the bike path. So they showed a plan. There was a bunch of discussion around the types of plantings that they would have to incorporate in there. And then Anna did approve that they could start to remove some of the identified trees in that area, the box elder trees, but that they're going to work to keep the black walnut trees that are still there. We discussed the Strategic Urban Forest Management Plan. The consultant presented their consultant's going to do like the standard public outreach events where we hold meetings at night, but they're also looking to do 1 to 2 meetings at just existing public events. And I just wanted to call that out as a fantastic idea. I think the more that we can, when we're looking for feedback from the public, go to where they are as opposed to asking them to come to us is a great idea. So they're looking to set up shop at the farmer's market or the concerts in the park or something like that. I think that's great for future kind of plans like this. And then between the Arbor Day events, the Southdale tree replacement, and replacing trees along Traceway Drive, I believe Anna said that we have planted almost 100 trees throughout those 3 projects. I just wanted to shout out Public Works Department and Building Inspection for helping with removal of the dead trees along Traceway and Southdale so that we could plant the new ones. So that's my report.
Thank you. Then Ad hoc Community and Equity Committee. Hello.
Oops, sorry, I was talking on mute, y'all. I'm sorry. Apologies. But I'm gladly to announce we met this evening and we finally have finalized documents that will be brought before the council in June to vote on this committee as a formalized committee that we will recognize in the city of Fitchburg. And those documents will be sent to the mayor for her approval and commentary shortly, either tonight or tomorrow morning. And I just want to thank everyone who's been part of that committee, especially from the city staff perspective, and Sarah, who's been a great addition and providing a lot of information, and then all of the individuals who are on the committee who graciously has volunteered their time to serve in this capacity and serve the city of Fitchburg.
Thank you. We started in June last year, and so they have been working, meeting regularly, I think like twice a month. So I think I would say thank you to all the committee's members because we'll see what is how the final product look like. Okay, thank you. So we don't have any other report from other commission and committees?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I realized when we rearranged the agenda to move the finance items up, I didn't give the rest of my TTC report. We just went through the Vision Zero resolution.
Oh, okay.
So if I could go through that. I of course realized it too late. So we met on May 8th, re-elected Steve Arnold, our chair, and Council President Alder Gerhardt as our vice chair. We had a representative from Metro Transit come and present to us about the 30% plans for North-South BRT, which again will be discussed here in the council chambers on Thursday for a public meeting, 4:30 to 6:30 in this room. We also went through our transit plan update and shared our priorities for bus service expansion over the next few years, especially extending Route B down to that Treverton, Brendan, McKee circle, kind of by Walgreens and McKee Farms Park, expanding the 65 and 75 to all-day service, rerouting the 65 up to that aforementioned kind of mini transfer point at Treverton Pike, Brendan, McKee area, and then along Mickelson Parkway to serve folks in that along that street, and then also a proposal to reroute Route 65 south along Lacey, then west on Lacey, and then north on Syene to better serve all the new development in Uptown, Hartung Fields, and some of our workforce housing like the Limerick and the upcoming Uptown Hills project.
Okay, thank you. So next, Personnel Committee.
I had a finance report too.
Oh.
Sorry. I only did the resolutions.
Okay, go ahead.
This is pretty quick. In the finance packet, there's the ARPA project expenditure report. This is an annual requirement of reporting back on the spending. As you remember from last year, we obligated the full amount of funding, but we were only required to obligate it. We have to spend it by the end of 2026, I believe. So this is just giving a status update on where we are. We have spent $2.56 million of the $3.22 million, and we have a plan to apply to spend it down the rest of it before we are done, and we are in compliance with the federal laws. They are Finance team is working closely on working to get the audit ready. Plan to present the final audit at the first meeting in June. So that's coming pretty soon, wrapping up 2024. CIP is in the works, as the mayor mentioned, planned to be released in June. And then work is also beginning on the 2026 budget. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we are done with finance. Okay, so now we move to personnel committee. Who is in personnel?
We meet tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Public safety and human services.
A couple of things going on. The Grace race is on June 1st. Administrator Breckland talked about the Memorial Day service on the 26th. Please attend. And the Hop House is starting their Wednesday. It started tomorrow. The Wednesday music outside.
Oh, nice.
And been a substantial uptick in parties, graduations, and things. Renting the city structures for those events. That's all I had.
Thank you. Okay, so next we are on unfinished business. We don't have anything, so we move to new business. And we have a direct referral.
I'll move approval of Resolution R8525, authorizing partial tax assessment refund for FTC Retail West for 2022 and 2023.
Second.
This was referred to council without a recommendation from Finance Committee.
Okay, so who is going to be updating us? Chris? Okay, or Valerie? Oh, Valerie's there too.
Or Valerie can. It makes no difference.
Valerie, go ahead. You can do an introduction. Mute.
You're muted.
It would be helpful if I unmuted. I feel like a Zoom meme at this point. You're on mute. So most of you probably remember that a few weeks ago we were here before you discussing a potential for a refund in this case. I think we have a couple new alders who weren't present at that meeting, but this was back in April. The short of it is that staff recommends authorizing this refund on the basis of new information that we received and our understanding of what the property should be valued, and then the calculated refund accordingly. So we're asking the council to authorize this refund. Happy to answer questions. Again, this is the same item that we had discussed back in April and had a closed session on, and I believe had direction from the council to go ahead and move forward with this. So really at this point, this is just like the official resolution that authorizes the pre-approval and the expenditure of those funds.
Okay, any question, comments? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-85-25 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. So next, we have in our agenda an update on the 2025 property revaluation by Chris Litz.
Leeds, you got it.
Our city assessor. So I asked Chris to come to explain why do we need to do another revaluation this year, and then explain how the process works. And the timeline, and so.
Okay, wonderful.
Go ahead. Yes.
Good. Thanks for having me. So I've got a few things to go over here. Kind of the why of we're doing a revaluation since we just did one. Kind of what some of that means. Maybe some light numbers if I can get into those a little bit. But yeah, I got some slides here if I could pop those up quick. Hang on. So. I'll try not to get too into the weeds. I have a tendency to do that, as is traditional with this kind of a technical job. But, so, why do a revaluation? We did one last year. There's a couple different types of assessment rolls. So an assessment roll, definitionally, is just a big, huge 9,000-page document, or 1,000-page document, whatever it is. It has every tax parcel, and their corresponding values. And so within those, there's kind of varying levels of work you can do. Broadly, there's a maintenance assessment role, which is really just going to be, performing more or less maintenance on parcels that need it. So if you add a deck, remove some basement finish, physical changes. And then there's a revaluation, which is what we did in 2024. With that, you do most of the same work as a maintenance, but additionally market analysis as well. So within the scope of a revaluation, there's 3 different types of revaluations. One, an interim market update. This is what we typically do here. Similar level of field work. However, we do that neighborhood and city level sales analysis. There's an exterior revaluation, which is all of the above work plus an attempt to review the exterior data of all properties in the city. And then lastly, a full revaluation, which is all of the above plus an attempt to review interior and exterior data of all the properties in the city. Most places do not do those, as you might expect. It requires a substantial amount of staff time. Interim market updates are the most common. So that's what we did back in 2024, 2022, and so on. So prior to COVID, the city conducted revaluations just about every year. So I look back at my records, and even before 2018 here, there was revaluations done from, I believe it was 2016, I think is what I saw, to 2020. Did a maintenance year in 2021, as most other municipalities did because of COVID. Nobody really knew kind of what was going on. Revaluation in 2022, maintenance in 2023 when I first started here, and then last year was interim market update revaluation. So getting to the why. Since more assessments change during revaluations, we have an increased number of board of review cases. This is where Tracy comes in. The clerk's department coordinates board of review, and there's a lot of extra caseload during those revaluation years, and it's a pretty big strain on their department and additionally ours as well. Even numbered years, as you all probably know, see a lot of extra voter turnout due to presidential, governor races, congressional elections, those types of things. And oftentimes those elections, not the specific election days, but all the work that goes into ahead of those, absentee voting and getting the ballots prepped and all that good stuff, overlaps a lot with board of review. So that results in a lot of work on Tracy's part. So the goal here, I think, is to ultimately work a little bit more efficiently between our department and their department and not overload anybody unnecessarily. So the plan here would be to get onto an every other year revaluation schedule and do them in odd numbered years. 2025 was kind of an opportune year. We had strong staffing levels. I've kind of gotten my feet under me a little bit here, and we were on a good schedule since we completed 2024's board review in kind of late summer and started working on the 2025 role in, I think, early July or something like that. So we were on a pretty good schedule. Let's see here. 2026 has a governor's race, and elections are going to have a larger turnout as we kind of expect. So the options, kind of as we saw it, were to either do a revaluation this year in 2025 or hit the pause button for 25 and 26 and then pick up that every other year schedule in the odd numbered years in 2027. That didn't seem particularly feasible, given that the market is still continuing to grow pretty significantly. For 2024's revaluation, I don't know if you remember all this, but the average assessment increase for a residential home was around 20 to 21%. For 2025, all of our sales, our kind of average sales ratio is about 90% assessment to sale price. What that indicates then is roughly about a 10% bump increase for residential homes, which would kind of track as to how the last several years have gone. I think 2022 was also similarly about a 20% increase after taking a year off. So the market seems to be pretty steady. So additionally, doing a revaluation, I didn't speak too much about this yet, but state law requires us to be within 90 to 110% of market value with our assessments as determined by the Department of Revenue. And since I just mentioned 90% for 2025, we're technically at 89.6, so we would be outside of that threshold. So it's not too far out that things are too out of whack, but it's wise to do one. So just to give you a more bird's eye view, here's kind of our typical calendar. This is pretty close to what we're on this year. So July, all the green colored months here, July through February, typically we're in the field doing data collection, processing, that kind of stuff. Let's see here. March into April is kind of some finalizing that inspection recording. little bit of valuation, some QC, that kind of stuff. And then in May, where we are now, we're finalizing the roll. We're getting ready to mail out notices, have open book, and then get into board of review. And then we do it all over. So here's where we're at for now. We're just about done with everything that we need to be done with. We've got this week and next week where we're kind of wrapping things up. Next week is mostly going to be QC and making sure we're all good to go with the county. After that, we will send the notices to the print shop on, I think, next Thursday, and then they mail them out 2 weeks after, on June 6th. And then we start open book, which is the kind of informal appeals process, June 9th through June 18th, and then we'll start board of review a month after that, or roughly a month after that, in July 24th. So, over the last year or so that we've been working on this, obviously all my staff go out and do inspections, and I've communicated them, let property owners know what we're doing, talk to them about it, so that way, they're not overly surprised when they get their notice in May or June. I went to and spoke with the Caldwell Banker Realtors Group over on, I think it's on Marketplace, or no, somewhere over there. I can't remember the exact address, but I spoke to them in March 2025, so it's a few months ago. Anecdotally, I had thought, I was like, man, maybe things are starting to level off a bit. And I was like, kind of floated that idea to them, and they more or less laughed at me. I was like, huh. So the market, I was suspecting things were starting to level off, and they indicated that no, it was not. So I've gone on talking Fitchburg a few times. Yesterday, we held some senior center, a couple of Q&A sessions at the senior center, and they were very, very limited in attendance. I did one at 11:30, and there was 3 people there, one of whom was a senior center employee, and then we had another one scheduled for 5:30, and nobody showed up. So it was advertised well, I thought. It was on the Facebook page, tried to push it out there, but people just didn't show up. So, and then we'll do some news flashes here in the coming week or next couple weeks here, and then some Facebook posts as well, just so people aren't necessarily caught off guard. And then with that, or with our notices, we put in like a kind of FAQ type document, and then additionally some information on how to get in contact with us should you disagree with the assessment. Beyond that, I've got a couple common questions and concerns. I won't dwell on these too much, but some of these are very common. So if you all ever get contacted and somebody says, hey, my neighbor's house is assessed less than mine, the short answer is usually there's a concrete reason for that. Even though things might seem, the same at face value, they might, or typically aren't always. So, but if they have specific questions, just direct them to us. Another very common question we get is people will say, hey, I haven't done anything to my house. Why does the value keep going up? Very simply, it's just supply and demand and increased marketability of residential homes. Let's see here. Will my assessment go up to the sales price automatically? Not typically. In a revaluation year, they should be right around there. So say you have somebody, a constituent who buys a house and their assessment is way higher. Usually they would want to contact us or should contact us unless, just to kind of check our work a little bit. Nobody's required to let us into their home. We encourage it. I will say Fitchburg, in comparison to my former municipality that I worked in, does very, very well. I think we get close to a 50% response rate here, 40 to 50% of people letting us do inspections on their home. In Janesville, where I worked previously, it was quite a bit lower than that. And then lastly, what are my taxes going to be? We don't know. I assume you all know that, but we've been trying to market to people that budgets come after taxes. The two are not inherently independent of one another, but they are in some ways. So in the sense that the assessment roll doesn't influence how much tax the city collects. And then here's just a kind of a quick example I wanted to show. So in 2024, the average assessment, like I mentioned, increase was around 20%. Here's I just pulled this property because it had the exact 20% adjustment. And here's the tax impact year over year. So the value went up, the assessed value went up 20%, almost $100,000. And then the tax impact was around $300 or 3%. So just trying to illustrate that it's not a one-to-one, so which is kind of a common misconception. So anyways, with all that being said, all of our property record cards and all the data can be found at assessordata.org. You have to filter by City of Fitchburg and punch in your parcel number, your address. But it's a good place to direct folks. All the data, tax and assessment value data is on Access Dane, of course. But yeah, other than that, we're always here to answer questions. We've got a very knowledgeable staff. We're ready to pick up the phones and talk to people. So soon enough, we'll get the notices out. And yeah, any questions you all have for me?
Bill.
How much leeway do we have in terms of the content of those notices that go out?
What do you mean?
Okay, so we obviously know what every parcel's assessment is, so we know the grand total for the city.
Mm-hmm.
So for each and every parcel, it should be pretty easy to say, this was your slice of the pie last year, here's your slice of the pie this year.
Sure.
Notice that the size of the price of your, the size of the
I
piece
see
of the
what you're
pie
saying.
did not go up, even though your assessment is going up. Therefore, don't panic.
Sure.
And could we also put on something like, if all we did was adjust for inflation, your property tax would go from this last year to this new value this year, and it is likely not going to go up that fast. Because we know what the net new construction is, so we have a pretty good idea of what the overall maximum levy is, right?
In essence, kind of. But you have school districts and all the other
True.
taxing jurisdictions. But so the letter, the assessment notice, I'll start with that. That's very dictated by state law. So there's certain things that you have to have on there. We could possibly look at adding at least like if you were to say the total residential value from 23 to 24, like, if you were to just expand that out, because we could put that on like our insert and then people could do their own math. I don't think there's a way to auto populate that, I guess, to say, here in 2023 or 2024, you were, $400,000 and the total city value was $4 billion or whatever it is. I don't know that there's a way to do that easily, but we could certainly put, hey, here's the total it'll show your 2024 value and your 2025 value, and we could put on that insert, here's the total city value for 23 and 24, and then advise them, I guess, to do their own math so they can figure out, oh, okay, so maybe I didn't go up that much. Or I guess disproportionately, I guess, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question, part of it?
Yeah, I feel like, even though you give them four numbers, there's still going to be, I guess, as long as you write the formula down there, that should probably give everybody everything they need. I'm just trying to head off the inevitable panic that ensues when everybody gets their new assessment and they assume that because they went up, like your slide showed,
Sure.
it goes up by 20%. Oh my God, my taxes are going up by 20%.
I think it is as much as I wish it weren't true, it's inevitable. I think we could, I've asked people before, how many of you read our little insert? And the answer is pretty abysmal. Most people don't. They get the notice, and actually, moreover, we sent out, just to give some context, we sent out 9,000 notices last year, and we had 200 open book appointments. So I don't know what the math is off the top of my head, but less than 1% or around 1% or 2%. And of those, maybe 100 of them changed. So most people don't call us during open book even. They call us when they get their tax bill. In one of the cases we were dealing with, somebody said, or most of the cases, people go, they feel that the assessed value is just abstract. They don't really care about it until they get their tax bill. So it's not, and that's where most of our messaging around it is always like when people call us, is just to say, hey, keep in mind yourself or your own value in comparison to the average. So that way and it's not a hard and fast rule, but generally, as you can see from the example I shared, if you go up consistent with that average, you're not likely to change too much. And that's, I guess, another point to why we wanted to do this revaluation a little bit sooner was that, we just did one last year. It's a little bit more fresh with people. Hopefully they sticks with them a little bit. It may not, but that's the hope. So,
Mike.
I do think having, I said, just the total city residential percentage on there would be helpful. At least it's a reference that we can point to.
Sure, yeah.
When you do So when you're doing market adjustments based on sales data in the city, what is the sales volume that you've been working off of lately the last couple of years, as opposed to like the 2 to 3% interest rate era, I guess? Is the volume down? Is it harder to work on those estimates?
Not really. I mean, it's maybe down a little bit from what it was, but values are still very strong. We have sales for most neighborhoods, I would say. So it's and the ones that we don't, we have sales in comparable neighborhoods. So it's not such that we're lacking for them. I think this year we had like close to like 500 or 600, I think, that we had to review. And then that's not including all the kind of private sales that we don't necessarily have to review. So there's still a lot of sales out there.
And then aside from pulling a permit, how do you determine the houses that need like an inspection or a visit from the assessor?
That's a good question. So we inspect sales, we inspect permits, and then we do a lot of like periodic reviews. So one of the things that I've tried to do since I've started here a couple of years ago is implement like a standard to review property data once every like 5 to 10 years. And so we're kind of going through section by section of the city and just picking them out each year. And so this last year we did mostly the southern half of the city, a lot of rural properties and some of the more like rural kind of residential neighborhoods. That's not to say that they get increased like market adjustments. We're still uniform with everybody, but we'll try and do more physical inspections on those. So it's sales permits, and then like if there's fires or anything like that, anybody can request us to come in. They don't often, but for any, so that's kind of our usual standards. So.
Chris, I don't know if this is a question for you or for Valerie, but you had mentioned before that the state law says we have to be within that 90 to 110% range, and we're already just a hair under.
Yeah.
If, I could certainly hear, from residents who said, we already got this, this 20-some% assessment increase a year ago. Couldn't we wait until 27? That'd be great for, individuals. What are some of the consequences or the impacts we could see if we said, let's not do another revaluation until 27?
Sure. So that's a good question. One of the, I guess I didn't caveat that 90 to 110% threshold, you have to be in that once every rolling 5 years. So it's not that every year you need to be there. The Department of Revenue recommends that if you fall outside of it, you should do one. But to answer your other question, the ramifications of it are the exact same thing that happens this last year, or that happened this last year, likely happens again in 2027. And probably more so just given the fact that instead of taking 1 year off, we would have taken off 25 and 26, so 2 years off. So if you were to extrapolate that out, assuming the market continues in the pace that it has, you're looking at like a 30% jump on average, not to mention specific neighborhoods may go up more than others. So it just, those large swings, people tend to be more reactive to those. I know back during the, when we were doing revals every year, 2016, 2017 and stuff, I think the, appeals numbers were down quite a bit. And like Madison, for example, does them annually. A lot of other smaller municipalities around here do them annually. And I think not to say that their open books aren't heavily attended and board of reviews aren't heavily attended, but I think people get, the more often you do them, the more used to it people get. And it sticks with people more to say, oh, okay, I know I'm going up 10%, but that doesn't mean my taxes are going to change that much. So.
Yeah. And to that point, I kind of wanted you to just lay that out for folks, so I appreciate you doing that. I totally just lost my train of thought. We'll see if it comes back. Anybody else?
I have a question. How many assessment notices are you planning to send?
I would expect about the same as we did last year, probably about 9,000. So most assessments will change. There's some that are likely, even if they change, the rule is if they change more than $500, you got to send them a notice. So even some of the, like, for example, like office parcels, which I just reviewed them all today, most of those are going up a very minimal amount, small percentage. We still have to send them that, even though their assessment really isn't changing much at all. So close to 9,000 would be my assumption.
My other question is like, I'm happy that we are going to put an insert, because in previous year, sometimes we received the notice and nothing was.
Sure.
And it was like people start panicking and, and calling us. And I think this is great because in previous year, the council knew that the notice were sent out because we start receiving the call from the neighbors.
Yeah,
and this
sure.
is, I want to be preventive. This is what we need to be all on the same page that this is going to happen. So because for sure we are going to receive calls. So we know. My other question is, I think you mentioned how you're doing the outreach. I will ask you if you can also, for the June edition of the Fitchburg Star, you write an article, or or whatever you have on all this slide, put it together like a summary and explain that this is happening, because this is, believe it or not, people read the Fitchburg Star. Okay?
No, I believe it, sure.
And this is another way that people can, because I don't know how many people go and see our videos, and I don't know how many people go and access our website.
Sure.
But, the Fitchburg Star is another channel,
For sure.
to inform our residents.
I do have it on my to-do list on my desk. So
Great.
I'm with
Okay.
you.
And then, as I mentioned, we have the conversation in private. I was not happy to do a reevaluation this year because we did one last year. This is supposed to be a maintenance year. I understand the capacity issue in the clerk department and know that next year is going to be an election year with, we have April election, maybe August for the primary, and then November governor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand that, but also the other thing is residents, to be honest, they don't care about that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's plain and simple,
Sure.
And this is what I want to be. If we are doing this, we need to be very proactive and explaining and transparent why we need to do that.
Sure.
Because receiving another notice, because it happened to me. Last year I received a notice and my property increased, I don't know, $80,000, something like that. And if you receive that notice like every year, people that they don't understand how our budget is put together, how our formula works, how are the relation between assessed value and tax, they're going to panic. You know what I mean? And this is my biggest concern, you know what I mean, is that they are going to say, you implemented a vehicle registration fee and now you are assessing our homes because you want more money for us, and this is what is going to happen. So that one is my biggest concern about if we are doing this, we need to explain very well why we need to do this, and how they're going to affect them, sure. And putting the numbers, that number about the, how that, one of the slide with the house,
tax impact on
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Like
so
this
that
one-
one is
this one?
great because some people, I remember last year when people received the notice, people were saying, I'm going to receive 20% and my taxes are going to go 20%. And, and then create that, So I want to, how to avoid that. I think that we are, or mitigate, because we are, people are going to start thinking about that, we are not going to change that mindset.
Sure.
That there is a direct relationship between assessment value and my tax rate. But how to mitigate that? Like that one is the word, mitigate, because to be honest, I'm very concerned that, doing another revaluation this year. And I'm going to put it out there because this is how I feel.
Sure.
But if we have to do it because we need to be on the, in the 90, 100%, and, and the staff capacity. But the idea is that in 2027, so 26 is maintenance year.
You got it, yeah.
Okay, so that one is also explain that, from when we're going to want maintenance year, revaluation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will be maybe in the future that the market is crazy and we need to do a revaluation every year, but we had to explain why. And this is this is my message to you, is communication and explain in lame term why we are doing this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've been trying to put that out there as much as we can
Yeah,
and talking to folks. I mean, yesterday, one of the people that came to the one of the senior center sessions seemed to have an idea of the separation of the two, and he's like they're separate, but it was an hour conversation that I had with one person. I thought it was very productive. So that's one person, hopefully, and I know I'm sure he'll come and talk to me, but it's tough because, we can only, in that instance, I can communicate with the people who want to be communicated with. So that's what Open Book's for, truly. I mean, I don't ever expect that we'll not have a high turnout at Open Book, but I think the key is to, I think we've done a good job over the last, at least since I've been here, trying to talk people, meet them where they are, and just talk to them in as basic of terms as we can, and so we'll continue to do that. So
my last question is, who are the residents that usually go to a board of review? It's more like a multifamily, isn't it?
Well, I mean, anybody can. So if you disagree with your home value, and say you come in during Open Book and you say, hey, I don't agree with this, and you give me some sort of data figures, some comparable sales or something like that, and I don't agree with them. If you're set on it, or if you come and talk to one of us and you're still dissatisfied, that's when board of review comes in, where you'd say, I just there's a disagreement here. I want to have this case heard, or my kind of argument heard by an unbiased third party. That's what they're for. So it primarily is commercial that comes into there. I think last year we had 10 residential cases, and I don't know how many commercial parcels we had, but it was quite a few more, 50 or something like that. I don't know.
My last question, is if I had to go to a board of review, suppose that I disagree with you and I say I'm going to go to the board of review. As a taxpayer, a resident, how do I need to prepare to go to the board of review? Do I need to do my own appraisal? Because this is what I heard one of the complaint people in residential, that when they go to the board of review, sometimes they need to pay for an additional private appraisal. It's another $300 or $400, you know what I mean? On top of coming to the meeting and spend time. So do they need to have their own appraisal?
So they don't need to. In some cases, it can be helpful. So like if you say you just purchased your house or something like that, and we're overassessed or whatever it might be, if you have an appraisal, you can use that as evidence. The only kind of point there is that you'll need that appraiser to come and speak on your behalf, because if you're kind of speaking for somebody else's work, it's just hearsay essentially. So you don't need an appraisal. Board cases have been won without them for sure. And we're not infallible. So I'm happy to, if somebody has questions, I'm not going to build their case for them, but I'm not so, prideful that I wouldn't at least help them to try to at least get a fair shake. So appraisals are helpful, but you don't need them. Sales comps, that's probably the most common. If opinions from realtors or something like that. So just whatever that you think would make your case the most compelling.
Okay. Gabriela.
So Open Book, the timeline on that, is that something that's by statute or by ordinance, or what? Why is the timeline?
So it's not by statute. You have to have Open Book a minimum of like 4 hours, 2 hours, something like that. I forget what it is. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, most municipalities around here, smaller ones, they have much shorter Open Books than we do.
So
this is a longer period of time.
What is?
9 to 18.
So it's a week and a half, roughly.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I would say a week or two is pretty typical for municipalities that have a dedicated assessing department. Some places will do 3 weeks, some will do 4. It just kind of depends. So here's, I guess, the caveat behind that is those are the official dates. If somebody comes to us and says, hey, I was on vacation, did I miss my chance? The answer is no.
Oh, okay.
There's a requirement to provide somebody with their assessment notice 30 days before board of review. So we cut it off on that 18th because we have to spend time getting the kind of re-notices, if you want to call that, so the people that have their values changed during Open Book, we have to notify them, and then the clock starts ticking for board of review. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, did I miss my chance, they can sign off on a waiver that essentially waives that 30-day requirement, but that gets a lot harder to track if we have a bunch of them doing that. So we just try to end it on a certain date or have it at least advertised that way so we get people in, and then we can manage those kind of stragglers a little bit.
Okay, so I want to make sure that's a reasonable amount of time for us to provide. And the other thing is, how are the other municipalities surrounding us doing it? Because I obviously know that Fitchburg taxes, people generally go up by about the same percentage, and then the Fitchburg taxes probably proportionally is around the same, obviously with lots of caveats. But if our assessments are going up relative to Madison School District, Verona School District, other parts of Dane County, I feel like that probably would have an influence on those other overlying jurisdiction taxing entities.
Sure.
So how are the other municipalities doing this? Is this an odd year to, separate it from busy elections? Is that typical?
I think
what?
In my experience, that's the way a lot of statutory, my experience is somewhat limited because there's only, here in the state, there's, however many hundreds of municipalities, less than 30 of them, I think, have dedicated assessing departments who and typically the larger cities like us and Madison, Janesville, Sun Prairie, I would say we talk quite a bit more than maybe some of the contract assessors. And so a lot, like when I was in Janesville, this is one of the things that they started working towards because it just seems to make sense, I think, logically. As for Madison does them annually. I don't know offhand what Sun Prairie does, but in Dane County, those are the only other two municipalities that have a dedicated municipal assessor. That's not a contract firm. So I think
So Verona
Verona
Oregon.
does them annually. I don't know though.
Do they have an assessment? No. Verona doesn't have an assessment.
Verona and Oregon would use contract assessing firms.
Yeah. So it's not to say that they don't have assessors. It's just they
have
pay a private contractor to do that service for
So
them.
annually is not actually that uncommon
No.
in the region.
No, I live in Edgerton. They do them annually there. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other comments? Bill?
Yeah, so you just following up on a comment, you had said that if they do get an appraiser, an appraisal, the appraiser would need to testify in person. I'm just wondering, why would a notarized document not suffice?
Well, I don't. Are appraisals notarized?
I'm just saying, if you get an appraisal and you have it notarized, would that be good enough, or do you need to have that person there?
Well, it's in the same way, like if you went to court or trial, you would need to. You wouldn't I wouldn't if you did an appraisal for me. I wouldn't be able to speak on it because it's your professional work. So in the same sense, like if we were going to trial here in a few weeks, I can't speak on our expert appraisers, even though I may in some ways be qualified to do so. Even that's their work. So I'm not sure of the specific. It's in our Board of Review Policies and Procedures Manual. This is very similar to one that was adopted in West Bend, Greenfield, or Pewaukee, a few other places. So, yeah, it's in essence, I don't know the legal ramifications of it, but typically in a court hearing, I assume if I can't speak on somebody else's professional work, more or less. You can offer commentary on it, but the Board of Review can't take it as evidence, essentially.
I have another question. In the insert that you're planning to add to the assessment notice, are you going to explain that if you go to the Board of Review, you need to bring an appraisal and you need to bring your appraisal with you? Is there because, so maybe some people, they don't know how the process works.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Are you going to explain that in the
We
insert?
can put in there, Board of Review is a little bit separate. So when they when they come to Tracy and they say, hey, I want to file in Board of Review,
okay.
she attaches the whole Policies and Procedures Manual, and then the DOR puts out like a guide for property owners on how to file. So that when they contact Tracy to file with Board of Review, they'll get that.
Can you share the insert with the council so we have an idea what is going to be in the notice in case that we don't receive a notice?
Yep.
An assessment.
I can certainly do that. Yeah, I will tell you, we're trying to shorten it up. I struggle with trying to convey a lot of information in a small little amount of time, but we're working on it.
Okay,
so yes, it'll be a little bit more concise, a little bit easier to read, a little bit more digestible. So.
Okay. Any other question, comments? So we need to move forward with the agenda. Nope. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, so next we move to where we are. 11C. Okay, I cannot read. Oh my God. So it's Country View Mobile Park update of condition, potential raise order, and likely litigation. So we need to go to a closed session. So can someone read this?
I will move that we go into closed session pursuant to 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Consideration of Country View Mobile Home Park raise orders and potential litigation related thereto.
Okay, so Donald and Joe, you need to, because you're online, you cannot participate in the closed session. So please stand by until we call you back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we make a motion? Yep. I move to reconvene into open session.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay. So next we need a motion to to extend for 30 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of extending for 30 minutes say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are extending the meeting for 30 minutes. I hope it's less. Okay. So next we are going through other district reports. We will start with District 1.
We have a record number of people in our community garden. We have 20 this year, and we talked to Scott. They need two more plots tilled up. So it's really going well this year. And second, I want to thank Ross. The bike trail on Seminole, where it crosses Seminole there on the north, closer to Madison. Some residents mentioned, the bikes were just flying through, and Ross got stop signs put up on each side for the bicyclists, at least stop. So I want to thank him for getting those installed on there.
Okay, thank
That's all
you.
I had.
Okay. Joe, do you have anything to add for your district?
No, it's more general about Take Your Kid to Work Day. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Sarah and all the city staff that put that event together. Nicole's kids went, my daughter went, and myself, Micah, Nicole, and Bill, I believe. And if I'm leaving anybody out, I apologize. But we were on a panel where the kids interviewed us and asked us a bunch of questions. It was a really good experience, and I just appreciate Sarah and her team for putting this together, as well as some of the other things like Youth Government Day. So,
okay, thank you. District 2.
Just a couple reminders. Bike to work with the mayor this Friday.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that.
So show up at 7 a.m. at McKee Farms Park, and we'll ride to City Hall here. And as Chad mentioned before, we got Kids Build Wisconsin in McKee Farms Park, so expect 10,000 people there. And I think some of you know, but maybe not all, a month or two ago, the mayor nominated me for the open seat on the MPO policy board, and I found out late April that I was appointed.
Yeah.
So I'm now on the Greater Madison MPO policy board.
Yeah.
Congrats, bro.
Thanks.
Just a reminder again that this Thursday, May 15th at 4:30 p.m. right here, there's going to be that bus rapid transit session with Madison Metro. Madison Metro released their ridership numbers, and apparently April is the highest it's been since 2015, and it's bounced back completely since pre-pandemic, because the pandemic obviously really hurt the system, and that I think is due in part to Rapid Route A, which is going to be the other BRT route that actually is active now, which will look more like what we have. So anyway, it's a really important thing for our city. We can only fit so many cars on Fish Hatchery Road. So as we grow, we have to get more people on buses. Otherwise, we're not going to have space to go. And I don't think anyone wants to sit in crazy traffic. Anyone that's a car driver wants to sit in that type of traffic. We need to encourage bus transit. So really, really important. The other thing, the mayor and me and Bill met with some neighbors in Wildwood Park South. They had some concerns about a regular gathering on Sunday afternoons that was causing some issues in their view. And so we kind of met with the neighbors and talked to them on that Sunday afternoon. And then the mayor and Bill and I went over to talk with the residents. And I think all is probably well going forward. Sometimes talking with fellow neighbors that are having issues with sometimes is the best option. Obviously, that's not true in every case, but I think there is a default to call the police when there's an issue. And while that's sometimes appropriate, the police are sometimes given things that really aren't in their purview to deal with. So we were happy to do that in this case. Thought it went really well. And I thank our police officers for sometimes getting thrown things that really aren't in their purview because people don't know who else to call or what else to do. So we got some good officers around here. And then, yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. District 3.
All right. I'll build off what Alder Gerhardt said really quickly with Metro Transit ridership. I went through and looked at all of the routes that serve Fitchburg in some capacity. And from April 24 to April 25, every single one saw double-digit ridership increase. And the Rapid Route B, which will be the future Bus Rapid Transit Route B, was up 110%. 110%. My jaw hit the floor. As a regular bus commuter, it's great to see so many other folks saving on that downtown Madison parking rate by buying that bus pass. Other district report items, I went on a ride-along with Fitchburg Police on Friday, May 9th. We've gotten a lot of complaints, as probably Alder Dantzler and some of the other folks on the council are aware, about traffic concerns on Lacey Road at Highway 14 and Central Park Place because of all the increased traffic due to the Sayin Road closure. So during the ride-along, sat with Sergeant Clemens and stopped a couple drivers who were going at least 10 over in that spot, and hopefully encouraged some others who saw the flashing red and blue lights to not go 10 plus over. So making some improvements there, and city staff have made a number of improvements, such as cutting down some of the trees in the medians that really blocked visibility at Central Park Place. And from what I heard from Ross Kaler, our transportation engineer, we'll be working with WISDOT to see if there's any changes that can be made to the interchange itself, because that's WISDOT's jurisdiction, to help with this increased traffic volume. I also was able to take part in an Arbor Day tree planting at Sunnyside Dog Park on April 26th with Mayor Radafrada and Alder Vafadari, a couple other folks. Got some new trees planted in the ground. Hope the dogs enjoy them. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Yes, last week, I just want to add that, oh, go ahead. Is it me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to, you all know I'm a huge advocate of education, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to Mr. Nicholas Orlowski, who is a 4th grade teacher at Forest Edge Elementary here in Fitchburg, who contacted me about bringing some city staff and members of council to his 4th grade class to complete his civics lesson. So huge shout out to the mayor. Huge shout out to Chad. Chad wasn't able to come out there with us, but he was huge in orchestrating the individuals from the city that were going to correlate the road painting or the walk crossing that was being painted so the kids could actually see their project come to life. So thank you for that. Thank you to Adam, who actually came out, Fitchburg PD, and then all of the parents and other individuals that were able to come out and have it. And basically, they wrote letters to myself. They wrote one to the mayor that they read to us. And their issue was, like, over in the Terra Vesta neighborhood near their school, they wanted a crosswalk to be painted. So it was kind of cool, like a cool civics lesson that they had come to life, and they got to actually read their letters to us. And I'm hoping it's something, and then see the crosswalk be painted. They didn't actually get a chance to get it to like paint it themselves, but I think it was still like cool for them to see it be painted by city staff. So huge shout out to everyone. Huge shout out to the principal and the teacher. And hopefully we can kind of keep this engagement going with Forest Edge and potentially other schools in the Fitchburg area to kind of incorporate the kids into their civics lessons and things that they're learning.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah, thank you. District 4.
All right. Most of my stuff has been mentioned already, so I'll be quick. I went to the Edgewood campus meeting. Just to reiterate, that's going to be baseball field, softball field, full-size soccer lacrosse field with a track around it, and then space for field events. The one really cool thing is there's going to be a big space of the property that's going to be devoted to a wetlands restoration, and then there's actually space in the building for the environmental sciences department to do research on the wetlands restoration, so that'll be cool. Just to reiterate, the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan, the steering committee meeting is May 29th at 5 p.m., and the report is available right now on the city website for anyone that wants to read it. I will reiterate what Joe said. Take your kid to work day was super fun to talk to the kids, and if we take their orders, we are going to be building a lot more fast food restaurants in the city in the future, because that's what they ordered us to do. And lastly, I'll just say I'm thankful that it's 10 p.m. and not 11 p.m., and I appreciate our new start time. So that's it.
Today was a long meeting, but we have a lot of stuff. Okay, so thank you very much for your early district reports, and then announcement. Before, I want to mention that, as you know, we are using our parks more, and I will recommend all the residents and visitors that come into Fitchburg, because we have beautiful parks that you can enjoy them, but also, please, when you leave, keep it clean, because, and then keep your pet on leash, don't park on the grass, and because, we have a limited staff in the park department, and we have all to us, we need to contribute to that. So that one is my message. And then next Common Council meeting will be May 27. And what is the next Committee of the Whole?
Next Committee of the Whole is going to be May 28th, 2025. I also wanted to say I've sent an email to y'all just now about potentially moving the June Committee of the Whole meeting. The Dane County Regional Housing Strategy is having an annual meeting on the exact same day and time that I would like to attend, and many of you may want to attend. So I'm just sending an email out. Please let me know if you're available on that date. We still have to run it by FACTv and everything. So that's also important. I haven't forgotten. Don't worry. I just want to know if people are available. We can still keep it on the 26th, but that's things.
What we're going to discuss on May?
Let me see.
Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Really?
Oh, no, that's why I take notes. That's why. I think in May we're looking at, we do our CIP financial policies, our kind of a standard presentation we do every year, and the lead up to CIP process. And then I think we might invite the chamber to do their annual update.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourning at 10:07. Thank you very much. Buenas noches.